a presence, more than a stadium, a standard for the grand theater and spectacle of the college game. Since 1923, this has been the home, and this has been the time for legends to be born, for dreams to be fulfilled or denied, for hearts to soar or be broken. And today, this one-of-a-kind arena awaits another rendezvous with history. From out of the Midwest, a team that has marched to its own bone-rattling rhythms all season long, grinding turf, carving out drives, and stopping them on open fields across the heartland. From the Pacific Coast, a magical ride, a magnificent show of high-caliber football these past several years from a school long associated with gridiron greatness. Put these teams together, envelop them in the rich tradition of this event, and watch a classic unfold. The Wolverines of Michigan, the Trojans of USC in the Rose Bowl game presented by City, the granddaddy of them all.
You are looking live at one of the grandest scenes in all of sport. The Rose Bowl in Pasadena, California. As we welcome you to the Rose Bowl game presented by City. It is USC versus Michigan. It's an old-fashioned Rose Bowl. It's the Pac-10 against the Big Ten. And the weather, as we've said, is absolutely glorious. Welcome, everybody, and Happy New Year. Along with Bob Davey and Kirk Herbstreit, I'm Brent Musburger. What we have here, a couple of teams that so want to wash away the end of 2006. They want to start 2007 off on the right foot. Let us start with Michigan, Coach.
Well, Brent, Michigan has too much at stake to still have a BCS hangover. If they win this game, they will be #1 ranked going into next season. That leads them into a great offseason. If they lose, it'll be 3 straight times they've lost their last regular season game to Ohio State and the bowl game. As you guys know, that can lead to an offseason of discontent. That's enough motivation right there. But, Kirk, I mean, this is the Rose Bowl. Look at this place.
Well,
Michigan's
yeah.
going to be excited.
Well, we're all excited. I mean, you look at that field and you get excited about this matchup, and you think about Pete Carroll and his team, 4 quarters away from getting to the championship, but they've had about 3 weeks now to get over that hangover. There will not be a hangover. I found it interesting in talking to Pete Carroll. He said, we do what we always do at SC. We went back to the practice field, raised the intensity for 3 weeks, and we raised the competition on the practice field to get us ready for this football game, and that's really the only thing you can do. And I think it'll work for SC.
Yeah, exactly. And, you know, we lost a couple of great friends of college football this year, the passing of legendary Michigan coach Bo Schembechler. And then last week, Gerald Ford, former president of the United States, who was an All-American center in the 30s and became our 38th president, passed away. And today, as we present the colors here at the Rose Bowl, we will pay honor to the late President Gerald Ford. Right now, let us join the PA announcer.
Ladies and gentlemen, please rise for our national anthem. The Tournament of Roses joins the nation in remembering President Gerald Ford, for whom our flag is lowered to half-mast. As an alumnus of the University of Michigan, President Ford played on 2 national championship teams for the Wolverines in 1932 and 1933. After 13 terms in Congress and his term as the 38th President of the United States, his tenure in public office culminated with the Presidential Medal of Freedom, giving to him for outstanding service to the country. In 1978, the Tournament of Roses was honored to have him as his Grand Marshal. In remembrance of the passing of President Ford, we ask that you observe a moment of silence. Thank you. And now please remain standing and join in singing our national anthem, performed today by the University of Michigan Marching Band, under the direction of Professor Jamie L. Nix. At the conclusion of the anthem, please welcome from the north end of the stadium 4 F-16 jets from the California Air National Guard in Fresno. As they fly over the stadium in salute to America, President Ford and the tradition of the Rose Bowl.
Well, also with us today, Bonnie Bernstein and Lisa Salters, and let's begin with Bonnie.
Hi there, Brent. Well, as you mentioned, Michigan lost 2 football greats in the last month and a half, and they will be honored today with a sticker on the team's helmets. Legendary coach Bo Schembechler and President Gerald Ford, the center of the team's MVP in 1934, and his number 48, the most recent number to be retired by the Wolverines. Chad Henne was telling me how he got a good feel for President Ford's sense of humor when he visited the team 2 years ago. He said, "Hey, who's that great receiver you have?" And of course, Braylon Edwards stood up, and he said, "No, not you. I meant Jason Avant." Everybody got a big kick out of that. Mike Hart, Michigan's running back, who was very close with Schembechler, told me he's thought often since Bo's passing about how he should deal and how he would recommend Bo deals with a particular situation. But he said Bo wouldn't want us to be sad about his death. If he could tell us one more thing, it would just be to suck it up and move on. Lisa Salters is across the way with USC.
Thanks, Bonnie. Well, the last time the Trojans played here in Pasadena, their tailbacks rushed for a combined total yards 55 yards, and they know they have to do a much better job this afternoon to take care of the Wolverines. First on the depth chart for USC, freshman C.J. Gable, who told me earlier this week, he said, I still feel like a freshman sometimes in the backfield. He said, I know what I'm supposed to do, but sometimes I forget, especially my blocking assignments. I know I have to handle my business this afternoon. And Chauncey Washington, who finally appeared to be injury-free after being plagued all year by hamstring and knee injuries. He came down with a case of food poisoning on Friday, missed practice, got loaded up on IV. Good news for the Trojans. He's said to be 100% right now. Brent?
All right, Lisa. As we look at this grand scene and await the arrival of our 2 combatants, and here come the Trojans. Wolverines of Michigan. Two schools that are very, very familiar with BCS territory. Since it was founded in the last decade, you can see the number of appearances. Florida State still leading the way. USC making its 5th BCS appearance today, and Michigan its 4th. And next week, the Florida Gators will make their 4th against Ohio State in the championship game. The Buckeyes one behind Florida State. Our officiating crew today is from the ACC, and we have a veteran referee at the controls, Jack Childress. It's also ACC replay officials upstairs. And Dave Perry, the longtime administrator of the officials, is in our booth to clarify anything that might go wrong. For Lloyd Carr, of course, he would like to break this bowl losing streak here today as he comes equipped with a veteran team that he told Bonnie about a little bit earlier in the day. Now, Pete Carroll across the way, he's had two very, very tough losses in the Rose Bowl in his last two encounters. Of course, a few weeks back, UCLA knocking them out of championship contention, and then last year it was Vince Young as the captains. John David Moody there, their quarterback, helping bring them out. These captains were elected by members of the USC team, and now Big Jake Long of the Wolverines comes out. Jack Childress will be there. The Grand Marshal of Star Wars fame is George Lucas, and he will be flipping the coin as we go down to the center of the field.
Come in, introduce yourselves.
Good luck, Redox.
Gentlemen, I'd like to introduce you to Terrence Ramsey, today's umpire. Michigan, you're the home team in the blue. USC, the visiting team in the white jerseys. Gentlemen, congratulations on being here at the Rose Bowl. A wonderful year. Gentlemen, it's my distinct honor to introduce two gentlemen to you. First to my left is the Tournament of Roses president, Mr. Paul Holman. To my far left is legendary filmmaker and Grand Marshal of the Rose Bowl Parade, Mr. George Lucas. Gentlemen, meet Mr. Holman and Mr. Lucas. Mr. Holman has the commemorative coin. Gentlemen, if you will, the coin on one side has the Michigan logo. The other side sports the Southern California logo. It will not be necessary to call this toss. Mr. Lucas will toss the coin, and whoever's logo comes face up has the choice. Mr. Lucas, if you will. Gentlemen, face up, Southern California, Southern Cal. As you see, Southern Cal has won the toss. Would you like to receive, kick off, defend a goal, or defer to the second half? Defer. Southern California has won the toss and will defer. Michigan, you want the football. Which way you want to kick? You want to kick this way. Michigan there, Southern Cal here. Southern Cal won the toss and deferred. Michigan receives on this end. Shake hands, have a great ball game.
This ESPN production of the Rose Bowl available on ABC HD, presented by Olivia. Spanish language version of the Rose Bowl game, presented by ESPN Deportes. And to access the Spanish language telecast, press the SAP button. So you think about these two schools, such great names like John McKay and Bo. Heisman trophies, 7 for the Trojans, 3 for the Wolverines. National titles, 11 apiece. Pete Carroll already with 2, and of course Lloyd Carr won his right here in beating Washington State. Rose Bowl appearances, nobody's been here anymore than USC, 31 times with 21 victories. Pete Carroll's now 55 years old, and folks, after his first year, he went 6-6. He is 57-6 since then. Of course, he coached the New York Jets for 1 year, the New England Patriots for 3 years. And on the other side, a veteran of the late Bo Schembechler's staff, Lloyd Carr, now 62 years old. He's won 76% of his games, 75-21 overall in the Big Ten, 5 conference titles. But keep in mind that against the top teams, Lloyd Carr's record's impressive, 16-7. So the Wolverines and Chad Henne will handle the ball first, and with the ball on the tee is David Beeler, sophomore from Anaheim. He'll handle the kickoff, George, and there is Steve Bruston, his last time here A couple of years back against Mac Brown and the Longhorns in Texas, he electrified this crowd as a return man. Texas, of course, won it on a field goal in the closing seconds. And the following year, it was all Vince Young winning the national championship. So we're about ready to go, folks. At the goal line. Short of the 20-yard line, and so Kirk, Chad Henne, the veteran quarterback, coming out with the Michigan offense.
And Brent, you say veteran, he's making his 37th career start tonight for the Maize and Blue. And the thing that I find interesting in bowl games, you can see the decision making at the end. 7 touchdowns and 1 interception, but he has 2 losses as a starting quarterback in bowl games. 3 losses to Ohio State. He's 0-5 in the last 2 games. He wants to change that. Today is a big opportunity for him in this offense.
You can see a big offensive line leading him out. Preston will go to that slot in the left. You recognize the number 15, offset fullback. He has his choice, run or pass, much of the game after he sees the alignment. And here comes their heart and soul. Mike Hart for 11 yards on his first carry of the game. Let's take a look at this Michigan offense now. Big Jake Long, he came out, you saw him, one of the co-captains, a junior. He could go to the NFL, but he's announced he's coming back next year. Zone blocking. Those of you who haven't followed the Wolverines, it means you won't see pulling guards. And of course, Mike Hart has already carried one, the junior from Syracuse. And again, it is Mike carrying it. So 2 consecutive plays. Brian Cushing. We do want to keep an eye on a couple of linebackers from USC in this game. Brian Cushing, of course, alternates as a rush end and a drop back linebacker, and there he is. A little bit of a hip injury, but the one that Pete Carroll's most concerned about is Dallas Sartz, number 42. Can he hold up? And in that secondary, the corners, Harris and Thomas, they know that Manningham and Preston will be coming before long. On second down, Henne is taken down by Cushing, number 10.
And Brent, you talked about Brian Cushing hurt his knee 2 weeks ago in a scrimmage right before they went home for Christmas break. And right here, that is not really Chad Henne's game, just the straight drop back pass, Kirk.
And they brought the blitz that time, Kevin Ellison from the outside, and get used to that from Pete Carroll. You give him 3 weeks to prepare, and he will come up with numerous ways to attack a quarterback who drops back to throw.
So Ken Norton Jr. working with the Trojan linebackers on the far side. 3rd down and 14 now for Henne and the Wolverines. Incomplete. Michigan forced to punt. So after a 1st down run, the Trojan defense settles back down, and the Wolverines will punt it away.
Again, it's the pressure from Pete Carroll deciding to bring linebackers, and I think you could see early in this game they want to put pressure on Chad Henne, try to get him uncomfortable and get him out of rhythm, because when he's in rhythm, he's as accurate as any quarterback in college football.
Let's go back to punt. They came after him. No flag. Desmond Reed buried at the 35-yard line. Darnell Hood, one of the leaders of the special teams, downfield for the Wolverines on that punt. So when we come back, it will be John David Booty and the Trojan offense.
On ABC.
Well, Coach Davey, it is John David Booty's turn here.
Well, Brent, how John David Booty reacts to the Michigan pass rush, in my opinion, is the key to this game. UCLA was able to rout him with pressure. You know Michigan is going to try to do the same exact thing.
So they run it right straight ahead with C.J. Gable, the freshman running back. Take a look at this offense. Now, Sam Baker and Kyle Williams, their 2 tackles, they had a lot of difficulty with the speed rushers from UCLA the last time out. Alan Bradford will see action at fullback, and there is big Dwayne Jarrett. You can see him on the first play. They sent Trent with him. Morgan Trent. So the Wolverines have decided to chase with that secondary. 2nd down and 6. Again, keeping it on the ground, and big hit by Jamar Adams, one of the safeties. Now defensively, Lamar Woodley, senior defensive end from Saginaw, Rondell Biggs hoping to put on heat, and they got help that time. David Harris, their leading tackler. And there is Woodley, number 56. And in that secondary, folks, Willis Behringer, who went out of the game in Columbus with an injury. Jamar, you just saw in action. Behringer, perhaps their best tackling safety. So they're much better equipped at that spot in this game. Chauncey Washington in for the first time as the tailback for the Trojans. Booty rolling hard to the right. On the move, throws to Jarrett for the first down, and Trent pushes him out of bounds.
And right away, Brent, you see the adjustment USC made since the UCLA game. They take John David Booty Kirk, instead of sitting him in the pocket, they rolled him out there and got him away from the pass rush.
And they also motioned the tight end Dale Thompson over to help out Kyle Williams after the struggles against UCLA early in the game. Help him not only moving Booty outside, but chipping there with the tight end.
Throwing straight back, deflected, bobble incomplete, out of bounds on the sideline. Talking with Ron English, the defensive coordinator of the Wolverines yesterday, he said, Bob, exactly what you pointed out. He expected John David Booty to be bootlegging and rolling out more. He said when they broke down the tape back in Ann Arbor, that John David Booty rolled out a lot more in the early part of the season, and he felt there was an injury, and that was the reason why the Trojans were keeping him in the pocket. And he said with his time off, we expect him to move a little bit more. 2nd down and 10. Screen. Well read. Harris, the middle linebacker, number 45, all over Gable.
David Harris, who the Michigan players voted their most valuable player. I think one of the best linebackers of all college football. Again, Kirk, you see USC's plan, though, of trying to slow that pass rush down, coming with the screen.
Screen pass, great recognition, great instincts by David Harris all year for this Michigan defense. And the thing that I see is USC's trying to isolate those linebackers and the safeties in space to try to take advantage of the speed of the wide receivers of USC.
Davis, the tight end, flexed well off the line of scrimmage to the right on 3rd and long for Booty. Fires high and incomplete in his direction on the far side, and now it is the Trojans. You know, with these teams and schools, and you see it throughout the bowl season, Kirk, having so much time off, I've often noticed that in the first quarter of bowl games, it takes a while for especially the offenses to get their timing and their rhythm back.
It takes a while to settle in after all the hype of 3 or 4 weeks, not to mention the timing that you've tried to maintain with the intensity in practice.
Here's Boydneck's first punt. Takes the USC bounce if they can get to it into the end zone. It'll come out on the 20-yard line. And there's big Ray Mawaluga, the middle linebacker, downfield on coverage after that 55-yard punt. So it will be the Wolverines' 2nd possession of the game. We'll take a break. Michigan huddles up. Meanwhile, Jarrett, USC, take a break.
Camry doesn't have it.
Coverage of the Rose Bowl game presented by Citi. Brought to you by Citi. It's easier to get the rewards you want. Ford, introducing the all-new Ford Edge. The Edge is never dull. The Home Depot. You can do it, we can help. And Verizon Wireless.
It was a fabulous morning for the Rose Parade. A year ago, got a little damp out there for some of the fans. USC song girls are ready now. Their defense is on the field. Here's Henne on a play fake. rolling hard to the right with a completion out of bounds. There is Sartz, and he is working on Carson Butler, the sophomore tight end from the Detroit area. There is Sartz playing despite that injury. Coach Carroll and the staff not sure how long he can go here today, and should he be forced out. Clay Matthews, a familiar name, and his daddy was a great football player, and so was his uncle. He could be coming on seeing some action for Coach Carroll. 2nd down and 5 now for Henne. Here comes Hart. Not this time. 3rd down coming up. Let's meet Mike Hart from Syracuse.
Michael Hart, running back, University of Michigan, Syracuse, New York. I'm a video game junkie, and right now I'm on the Gears of War, Xbox 360, and can't be beat. Growing up, I was always a Barry Sanders fan, and that's one of the reasons I wear number 20. I'll be back for my senior season for 2 reasons: win the national championship and beat the Buckeyes.
And there we have it. You think we might see that?
Setting the tone.
You think that got the Buckeyes' attention? And,
setting the tone for 07. He's ready.
You kind of bowed up when you heard him say that about the Buckeyes. I noticed you flipped a little bit.
Oh, wow.
3rd down and 6 now. Here's Henne. And his receiver tripped. His receiver was working against Kerry Harris. Manningham was coming down the near side, and he tripped, lost his footing. You can take a look at it.
Well, Kirk, you talked about a little bit earlier. I think the layoff really does favor the defense. Again, I'm not sure. Great communication right there between Mario Manningham and Chad Henne.
Well, these wide receivers and Chad Henne better get on the same page, especially on 3rd down when Pete Carroll will bring a blitz almost every single time to pressure Henne.
Zoltan Mesko to punt, but remember it was Darnell Hood who was the standout. His coverage on Reed after that one. Under enormous pressure. Fair catch this time, and Reed will let it bounce out of bounds at about the 41-42 yard line. And so decent field position coming up for USC and John David Booty. That's only a 34-yard punt, and the Trojans are getting closer and closer to blocking one. We welcome you back to the Rose Bowl game, presented by Citi. Pete Carroll and the Trojans with the ball for the 2nd time here today. They'll start for their own 42-yard line. John David Booty, junior quarterback. Gable, and now Bradford is in the game as the fullback. Gable cuts to a hole close to midfield on 1st down. Let's meet quarterback John David Booty.
I'm John David Booty from Shreveport, Louisiana. I'd have to say the food that I miss the most back home is crawfish. You can't find that anywhere out here. I'm not one for fighting traffic, so I got an apartment close to campus, so I can just ride my bike to class every day. I'm actually called John David because my dad's name is John. Growing up, you know, we'd get confused calling us both John, and David being my middle name, we just added those together and got John David.
So there we have it, John David with John watching for the stand. Quick completion, putting it in Jarrett's hands, but not much doing over there as Leon Hall, their All-American corner, came up to make the stop.
Well, Kirk, it'll be interesting to see how John David Booty handles the criticism coming from the UCLA game. You know, he had a great year, first year as the starter, but let's face it, the bar has been set so high here. When you lose a game like UCLA and only scored 9 points, he's taking a lot of heat.
He has, and I think his offensive line should take most of the heat. He was pressured almost every time he dropped back to throw, but people forget not only losing Minor, Reggie Bush, Lindale White, 3 offensive linemen, that's hard to replace, and they've done a great job this year.
Sean Crable checks into this defense. There's a 1st down, play fake, Booty rolling hard to the right, going deep downfield, got a man broken up at the last inches by Willis Behringer. The young man we told you could be a difference maker in that secondary was injured early on in Columbus against the Buckeyes.
You're going to see Morgan Trent, the corner, play in the double move. Steve Smith has him clearly beat. Kirk, the ball was a little late and a little underthrown by John David Booty.
Exactly right, Coach. Watching the play develop, it's so easy to see it from up here, but he was waiting for Smith to get clear of Trent, and he waited just a hair too long, giving Behringer enough time to come over.
2nd and 10. Draw play to Gable, swallowed. Alan Branch, number 80. Folks, there is one of the best defensive linemen in the country. 330 pounds out of Rio Rancho, New Mexico. He's a junior, and he's going to have a decision to make after this game. He is the one star who has not said that he's coming back next year. Most every draft projection list that I have looked at puts him in the top 10 if he decides to come out. He's that good. He's a difference maker in a defensive line. 3rd down and 12.
This Michigan defense, #1 in the country in 3rd down defense.
Straight back. Jarrett snatches it down right in front of Morgan Trent, and it's a USC 1st and 10. Another junior who could have a decision to make, and that is their talented wide receiver, Dwayne Jarrett. That is 18 yards.
Well, we know John David Booty is capable of making these kind of throws, Kirk, if he gets protection, and he got good pass protection right there.
That's what it's going to come down to today for this USC offense. Whether or not John David Booty has the time to throw, I think SC feels very, very confident with the wide receivers, including Dwayne Jarrett, going up against this Michigan secondary.
And now he holds the USC receiving record. Mike Brittingham in as the fullback. Looking right at him, coming out of the backfield, got him. He crosses the 20-yard line. Tim Jamison back there on coverage. So Booty and the Trojans are into the red zone.
And USC with so many injuries this year at fullback, I think 3 fullbacks injured. Mike Brittingham out of the backfield. That's a new name, Brent. We've done a lot of USC games this year.
He's a special teams guru that they've had to go so far down. He's a walk-on, and he's a guy that gives you great effort that time there to make the catch.
Washington in as the tailback. Booty going to keep it in the air. Incomplete, fired high to his target. That was Fred Davis, the tight end. So there are the Booties who've come from Louisiana. John and Sonny, mom and dad. Brothers are also right alongside.
You know, Booty followed 2 Heisman Trophy winners here at USC. He followed 2 high school national players of the year in high school, Brock Berlin, and then his brother Josh. So this guy's used to playing behind some great players.
Gable replaces Chauncey as the tailback. This is 2nd down and 10. And Gable can't get past the defensive line that time. Will Johnson, a junior nose man, makes the stop.
Kirk, you kind of see the plan. Throw on running downs, 1st and 10, then come back and draw or screen on 2nd and 1 passing downs.
We've talked so much in this first quarter about USC and their struggles the last time out on offense and protecting the quarterback. We failed to mention how Michigan's defense really struggled against Troy Smith and Ohio State, allowing 316 yards through the air that game, including 4 touchdown passes.
And this is how the Buckeyes burned that defense. They spread the field. They go empty. 5 targets on 3rd down. Booty, short drop. Jarrett. And lost the ball, but I believe he was down. Yes, he's marked down at the 9-yard line. That is short of the 1st down.
But Brent, you said it. That 5-wide empty look 25 times Ohio State did that against USC. Well, Ron English says, listen, I was patient against Ohio State. That didn't work. I'm going to blitz it, and they blitzed it that time.
That time, you're right. They brought more than the USC offensive line could handle, forcing Booty to get rid of it probably before he was ready, and they come up a little bit short of the 1st down.
And so Mario Daniello is on the field here. This will be a 26-yarder. Trying to put SC ahead. And on a perfect day, he's right down the middle. Trojans lead it by a field goal. It's the 93rd Rose Bowl game presented by City. To the game for the Built Ford Tough post-game show here from Pasadena. 3-0 lead for the Trojans, and their defense has stopped the Wolverines stone cold so far in this game. Michigan had 1 first down if you just turned on the television, and that was their first offensive play of the game for Loic Carr. Beeler with the ball on the tee to kick it off. And last time out, Preston was well defended, short of the 20-yard line. Beeler hung that one up in the air, which gave the coverage unit time to get downfield. We talk about punts being up in the air, but sometimes these kickoff fellas can get him up there too. Deep drive. Good take. Let this one go out of the end zone. Well, the Wolverines enjoying a fabulous season until the very end. 11-1 overall with only that one bitter loss in Columbus. They routed Notre Dame, and that put the show on the road. They won their first 11 games for the 6th time in Michigan school history. And then the shootout, the classic, 42-39, and they were jumped first by USC and then by Florida. This is their 20th Rose Bowl appearance. They've lost 2 of the last 3 years to Texas and to this USC team. Remember, that was the year the USC won the Associated Press National Championship. The BCS went to LSU as they defeated Oklahoma in New Orleans. 3:44 now. Quick snap to the outside. And on that far side, Mario Manningham with his first catch of the game. So they get him going.
Michigan, their own little change up there, going with an empty backfield coach, trying to get the ball out to the outside to Manningham. It worked out very nicely.
I'll tell you, Lloyd Carr made a strong statement the other day when we visited him. Mario Manningham, Brent, the most explosive wide receiver he's ever seen at Michigan. Kirk, they've had a few at Michigan.
Oh, yeah. Well, he probably has the best moves on that second move on a route as any receiver in the country.
Hart back in the game with Will Paul as his fullback. Crosses the 40-yard line. Running behind big Jake Long, number 77 over there on that left side.
And you want to see zone blocking. This is zone blocking right here. Michigan only has 2 plays. They don't have many plays, but they have a lot of players, and that's what you call zone blocking.
And for people at home, you're just trying to take that defensive line and take them to the sideline and get up to the second level with your offensive line to get to the linebackers, and the back has to be patient to find that crease, and Mike Hart is very good at that.
And he wants to put it up on the 2nd down. Got his first down. Snapped it off to the 46-yard line. Tyler Ecker, tight end, senior, playing in his final Michigan game.
Mike Hart is an undersized guy, but watch this block right there. He gets Lawrence Jackson, the defensive end, down on the ground.
Lawrence Jackson, 6'5", 265 pounds. I'm always amazed to watch Mike Hart in person, to have a full appreciation. Yeah, he got his left arm up there a little bit, but it's the courage to go down on one of the better defensive ends in the Pac-10.
2 tight ends. Running formation for Hart. Again behind Jake Long. And this time, Cedric Ellis, their fine defensive lineman, was all over the running back.
You know, we looked at that Michigan timeline. Remarkable when you think they were 7-5 last year. But the players the other day told me the difference this year, we all know a lot about the conditioning net, but Lloyd Carr has loosened up a lot more funnier around the player. Now, you can't, he's not Jim Carrey or Will Ferrell now, but he's loosened up a lot this year.
Different feel and a different vibe around this Michigan team.
Arrington is the wide receiver. To the left. Henney wants to throw dump it off to Hart in underneath. So out of the flat, but this is short of the first down. This will be 3rd down as Terrell Thomas, the corner, makes the play defensively.
Trying to get after Chad Henne again with a blitz. This time Keith Rivers, and Henne getting rid of the ball. Had what they wanted, but a nice tackle in the open field that time by Harris. Every 3rd down up to this point, we've seen some form of a linebacker or safety blitz. Let's see what they decide to do here with this USC defense.
3 wideouts. Arrington's the slot man. Henne changes it up. He's given a lot of freedom. That's how much he understands the offense and the other team's defense. You throw to Bruston in underneath for the first down. Busted out of bounds at the 36-yard line.
And Kerry Harris, number 7, bailed out on that, and it was really an easy throw and catch for Chad Henne and Steve Breston.
I'm just shocked on 3rd and 5 when you bring in a linebacker that you would give him a 15-yard cushion on Steve Breston. Very easy throw for Chad Henne. First down for Michigan. Too soft a cushion that time by Kerry Harris.
And a dozen yards for the passing game. First down and 10 for the Wolverines, their most impressive drive of the afternoon. Sarts sacks him down at the 44-yard line.
And Pete Carroll on 1st and 10 brings the corner and also Dallas Sarts, the linebacker. We go ahead and let it roll. You're going to see the corner, and here comes Sarts also on the blitz.
And I think that corner blitz really confused Reuben Riley and Alex Mitchell, the right side of the offensive line. Some confusion there, and it freed up Sarts, one of their better pass rushers, when he does come on the blitz.
Breaston is now slotted to the left on 2nd down and long. Here comes Hart. Stopped at the 45-yard line and hit by Oscar Lua, the senior from Indio. Makes a big hit. One of the veterans, extremely well liked by the coaching staff. So the Rose Bowl game presented by City reaches the end of the first quarter. It's 3-0 USC, and we'll return after this message and a word from our ABC stations. Welcome back to the Rose Bowl game presented by City, and our aerial coverage brought to you by Goodyear tires featuring triple tread technology. We come to the end of the first quarter without a single penalty. The Trojans kicking a field goal, leading at 3-0. Michigan, having mounted its best drive, has been thrust back to the 44, and now they face a 3rd and 16. 3 wide receivers. And he steps away from the pressure, fires down the middle, got his first down, I believe. Mario Manningham.
Obviously, anytime you get to 3rd and long, you need time for the plays to be able to develop and the receivers to get downfield. Interesting, Kerry Harris, the corner, sits to the outside, knowing that he has help from Taylor Mays, the true freshman Mays, late in coming over, giving Manningham plenty of time to get the first down.
What happened? They were in zone coverage when Chad Henne stepped up. The linebacker stepped up and voided the zone in behind him. He threw it in behind him.
Freshman Brandon Minor from Richmond, Virginia checks in. And nothing much doing on his first carry. There's Ellis.
It's a challenge for those linebackers, huh, Coach? They got to get back there on 3rd and long.
I tell you guys notice how similar these two teams are schematically. They're like watching the exact same offense when either team has the football.
Yep. That's probably would have helped a lot in their preparation. We were talking about their timing. They probably went a lot ones against ones because of that very issue. The fact that both are pretty similar on both sides of the ball.
Mike Hart returns as the Michigan running back. Arrington's the motion receiver. Deep drop, in trouble, has to try and drop it off. Incomplete. He had a tight end, Tyler Ecker, in the neighborhood, so that was not intentional grounding.
One of the decisions that Lloyd Carr made coming into this year was to make a change in the coaching staff. We talked a lot about Ron English, but Mike DeBoer, the offensive coordinator from Michigan, has done a tremendous job this year for the Wolverines. It's always a goal for an offense like this, kind of a pro-style offense, to have balance. 189 yards rushing per game, 186 passing, and that balance has gotten them to this point.
Brian Cushing is off the field on this 3rd down. In zone. Knocked away. Arrington was the intended target, and Mosique McCurtis.
McCurtis pretty fortunate that the ball was thrown low enough that there wasn't enough air underneath it, because Arrington had him beat, but it hits him in the back of the shoulder pad.
And Mosique McCurtis, fortunate, never really looked back at that football, but as you said, it hit him in the back of the head.
Yeah, Nick Holt said that's usually your head. 4th down now, Garrett Rivas for a 43-yarder to tie it. And with the fans from Michigan watching, he knocks the score with 13:35 to go in the first half. Michigan and USC, the 93rd Rose Bowl game presented by City. Program reminder, the Knights of Prosperity, 5 regular Joes coming up with a perfect plan to finance their dreams. They're going to rob Mick Jagger. New comedy coming to ABC Wednesday at 9/8 Central. You folks, you Notre Dame fans, you might want to set your TiVo for that one.
Yeah, Brent, we had a chance to watch that the other night. You know, I'm pretty easy to get along with. I liked it. Even a tough critic like you. You came away from that enjoying that show, didn't you?
Is he pretty tough?
Oh, he's brutal. But, I mean, it brought a smile to his face now.
I did. I like the fact that Mick Jagger made fun of himself. I thought that was the best part. Yeah. You know? I'd like to know what kind of a check they had to write him to do that. Here's a kickoff now, and it is fielded at the 4 by Gable, the freshman. Looking for daylight. Makes a fine return to the 33-yard line. Matt Leinart, one of the Heisman Trophy winners, rookie in the National Football League with the Arizona Cardinals, as we see the timeline for the Trojans. Not only Leinart, but Bush and Lindell White gone. So John David Booty and the running back committee opened it up, won their first 6 games, and then in Corvallis, Oregon State, Coach Riley got it done. Won his next 4. Beat up on some pretty good teams and then lost in a shocker to UCLA, but this is their 31st Rose Bowl appearance. 21 wins. Here they are, first down and 10. Deadlock. John David Booty, their junior quarterback. He'll be back next year. So many of the stars on these 2 teams will be back next year. That's why many of the experts across the country fully believe that the winner of this game will wind up the preseason #1. Remember, a year ago, down at the Fiesta Bowl, it was Ohio State beating up on Notre Dame. They rode that to a #1 ranking. Now, what's important about that? You say, well, let me tell you something. If you start out #1 and you happen to lose early, it's much easier to climb back up than if you start down there. Think of where Michigan had to start, all the way down from 14th. They were put down as the season started. So it is important, even though coaches don't like to talk about it. Second down and 9 after the run by Gable. Jarrett again in front of Leon Hall and very close to a first down.
Brent, you talk about those juniors deciding to come back. That's one guy, Dwayne Jarrett, right there, that most people think is going to come out in the NFL draft. This is a huge game. I mean, this is a money game for him today, Kirk, because he struggled the last time out against UCLA.
I don't know if he happened to see Calvin Johnson earlier today, but if he did, he realizes he better step up a little bit, because Calvin Johnson and Dwayne Jarrett, if they come out, are the top 2 receivers in the country.
Steve Smith lined up in the backfield. They used him as a decoy, and they lined up Alan Bradford, the fullback. And that was number 21. Has been very, very impressive in the Trojan practices. Pete Carroll warning us yesterday that they were going to get Bradford onto the field, and he picks up the first down. They had Smith lined up back at that tailback spot that time.
You know, you can talk about Dwayne Jarrett. Keyshawn Johnson told him to stay in school. Flat said he's not ready right now to come out in the NFL.
Keyshawn just doesn't want extra competition. He tells every receiver to stay. Right? That's exactly. First down and 10. Play fake Gable. Middle and hung on to. Beautiful catch by Chris McFoy.
That was an unbelievable catch by McFoy, because he didn't look back to the football till the last second. He didn't expect the ball to come to him.
But the key here is the play action. They've been running. Look at the linebackers right there. Come up on C.J. Gable, giving a nice hole for the quarterback Booty to throw it right over top of the linebackers. And a nice job looking back by McFoy. Catch that football and be prepared to be hit by Barringer.
First down. Right straight ahead into the heart of that Wolverine defense that time. C.J. Gable.
We talk mindset in college football all the time. Michigan's defense, arguably one of the finest defenses in the country, if not the best defense. And we wondered, how would USC's offensive line, after the game they had against UCLA, how would they perform against Alan Branch and Lamar Woodley? And through the first quarter plus, they've held their own. It really makes you wonder if that was more mental in their approach against UCLA than it was physical.
Well, Pete Carroll said, and Lane Kiffin said, they just weren't prepared to play.
They were not there.
UCLA.
Yep.
4 wide, thrown behind the receiver, and it'll be 3rd down. Let's check in down below with Lisa.
Well, Brent, you were talking about Dwayne Jarrett. He says that he is about 50-50 about whether he's going to actually stay for his senior season or turn pro. He says he'll go home after this game, go to New Jersey, and make the decision with his family. He says everyone has an opinion, and he's right. Coach Davey was right. Keyshawn Johnson, I talked to him today, and Keyshawn said, you know what, as a player, in my opinion, Dwayne Jarrett is just not ready for the NFL. Keyshawn said, no disrespect, I'm just trying to tell the truth. He's not physical enough. He can play on Sundays, but he's not going to be an impact player right now at the next level.
Saw that with Mike Williams. He wasn't ready.
3rd down and 8. Slant for the 1st down. In Williams' case, we go back on that story. Pete Carroll had told me he's not fast enough for the NFL, and then he wound up thinking he was going to get to go because of Maurice Clarett, and he had to sit out an entire year. He made a terrible mistake as far as his football future is concerned. I find him an entirely different topic than Dwayne Jarrett. I think Dwayne Jarrett, I don't agree with Keyshawn Johnson, to tell you the truth. Now, if he comes back to school, that's wonderful. That's fine. But I think he is ready physically if he wants to try it. 1st down. He could go after the jump ball as well as any receiver in college football.
And he's starting to separate now from defenders more than he did early in his career.
John Davis in trouble. Fumble. Ball loose. Wolverines have got it. And that is Big Alan Branch. Sean Crable ripped it loose.
Ron English takes a chance here as USC starts to drive deep into Michigan territory. They bring all the linebackers on a blitz. It allows Crable to get there, Harris to get there. The offensive line that time not prepared, and Branch comes up with the recovery for the Wolves.
Our first turnover of the afternoon. And the Wolverines duck a ball.
Exclusive coverage of the Rose Bowl game presented by Citi. Brought to you by Citi. It's easier to get the rewards you want. Chevrolet, an American revolution. Blockbuster Total Access, now offering movies through the mail, plus movies through the store. And Aflac, ask about it at work.
The skyline of Los Angeles in the background as we pull back over the hills to Pasadena. Between this stadium and downtown Los Angeles, Dodger Stadium. We just had our first turnover of this game. Neither team has a penalty. And the running game unable to get it going in the Michigan side.
Ron English saying he wanted to get more aggressive. Here come the linebackers, Harris, and it's really Crable coming in and applying the pressure. And this offensive line this time, 2 of the tight ends going out. They did not recognize the blitz, and he dials up a maximum blitz with the linebackers on 1st and 10.
And a huge difference in this football game is turnover margin. Michigan number 2 in the country. USC all the way down number 42 in the country as far as turnover margin.
Clay Matthews is in the game. The sophomore. 2nd down. Henney is in trouble. Sacked again. Cushing back on the field. In there along with Keith Rivers. So Brian Cushing with his 2nd big play of the afternoon.
It's a 3-step drop. The quarterback wants to get rid of the ball quickly. The only problem is when Rivers comes on the blitz, Maualuga gets right into the throwing lane of the quarterback, Chad Henne. Right there, he sees Maualuga, forces him to hold on to the football and giving the pressure time to get after the quarterback.
Yeah, you're never going to ask Mike Hart to hold that block that long. That ball should have been out of there, Kirk.
Need 15 on this 3rd down. Steps up, fires, and he's got his 1st down in the middle of the field. Preston working against Ray. Malaluga, number 58, the sophomore from Eureka, California.
And the great thing Chad Henne did again, he stepped up. He didn't look to scramble. He steps up to make the throw. That's the toughest thing on a defense right there.
It's the second time, Coach, that we've seen this on 3rd down and long. The offensive line doing a great job giving Henne the time and the ability to step into the pocket towards the defense, and the defense was not able to stop his wide receivers again from the 3rd down conversion.
So a 22-yard gain for the Wolverines and a deep drop under pressure, sacked again. 3rd time he's been sacked today. This time by Terrell Thomas coming off the corner, number 28. Pushing with a pair and Thomas with one.
We keep saying blitz and blitz and blitz. Both these teams are coming up with pressure packages. This time it's a corner blitz from Terrell Thomas. The offensive line and the backs not on the same page. An easy sack that time for Thomas.
But what happens, both offenses are trying to keep the defenses off balance by throwing on 1st and 10, but the defensive coordinators know that, so they blitz them on 1st and 10.
Let me correct myself. That's the 4th. I had forgotten the Sarge sack also earlier. So that's the 4th sack of the game. 2nd down and 18 for Henne of the Wolverines. Minor going nowhere. 3rd down and long. Pushing another stop.
This offensive line has struggled here early in this game of giving their quarterback consistent time to throw the football. Brent just brought it up. 4 sacks already, and we're not even to the half. It reminds me so much of the Rose Bowl from a couple of years ago where USC sacked Michigan 9 times. John Navarre was dropping back, and every time he dropped back, he was on his back.
Henne's had a couple of big 3rd down strikes. Needs another one here. Needs 15 yards. Needs to reach the Wolverine 48. Instead, the 5th sack of the game. This one by Ellis. The first by a defensive lineman.
And Cedric Ellis, who was voted the defensive lineman of the year by the other players in the Pac-10, comes up with the next sack.
This time it's again a little bit of a stunt. They move Jackson to the outside, again creating havoc, creating confusion, making an offensive line go from being aggressive to be hesitant. When you get an offensive line hesitant, you can apply pressure on the quarterback every single time he drops back.
Let's see how close they get to this punt. Desmond Reed awaits the return. They should have good field position, so they really don't put an all-out press on it. Desmond's got it with his 29-yard line for the Trojans. To the sideline where he is stopped. And that was David Harris, the middle linebacker, coming down on punt coverage that time. So we'll take a break. We're deadlocked at 3. The storyline, defense dominating this game. Welcome back to the Rose Bowl game, presented by Citi. You know, folks, we'd like to acknowledge Bill Johnstone, the chairman of the Rose Bowl Management Committee, responsible for the overall management of this great game. He will leave his post here today, tournament member for more than 4 decades. And well, a wonderful gentleman he is. And he has, through the years, really taken care of ABC television and taken the lead in the tournament's relationship with the BCS. And we got to thank Bill for his many years of service. He is just a grand gentleman. 1st down and 10 for John David Booty and the Trojans. Coming with Gable on 1st down, trying to run the ball. And let's take a little moment here for our Aflac trivia question. Now, Kirk, you weren't around when we came up with this one, but who was the last Michigan Wolverine to have his jersey number retired? You might have a little problem with numbers, but we'll see.
Yeah, I may have. Oh, I love you. Every time I come up here,
well, you leave me
I can count on
you. Leave me alone. You know, I better get you now. 2nd down. Quick snap to Jared. Jared breaking free of Morgan Flint for a couple of additional yards, close to midfield on that play. And enough for a 1st down. Not a single penalty yet in this football game.
You have to love the way this USC offense, I know they only have 3 points, but they have bounced back from that UCLA game. A lot of people felt like they needed to get their swagger back. You kind of feel them starting to get that back right now.
Well, certainly on their defense with those 5 sacks, Coach. Huh? First down and 10, and here's the handoff to the freshman. Not much doing there. Into the heart of the defense. You can see Burgess is there with Terrence Taylor. Terrence, big old defensive lineman, number 67. There's John David Booty. He'll be back to quarterback the Trojans next year. Taylor will come off to the side now. Hand signals coming in from Sarkisian on the far side. You'll look at the wristband. There he is. Sarkisian and Lane Kiffin dialing up the plays. Second down, 9 yards to go. 2 wideouts. Washington is the running back. That's Smith into the formation, and here comes Washington. Ran up the back of his own man because I'll tell you what, Branch is just blowing them up. You mentioned it, Kirk, during the commercial break that that offensive line got hands full with number 80 now.
Well, the young sophomore Shiloh Rochelle has the unfortunate assignment going head-to-head against number 80 Alan Branch. And it is early in this game has been a clinic where Branch is just pushing him time after time into the backfield of USC.
And Brent, let's go back to what Lloyd Carr told us his advice was for Alan Branch. He said, I don't know if you're coming out. I don't know if you're coming back to Michigan, but you need to have a great game in this Rose Bowl. It's in your best interest.
Third down and 9, and so far he has played a great game.
Michigan had 10 defenders on the field. They're very fortunate.
We have a timeout.
Didn't get the ball snapped there.
That's their first timeout.
And they noticed it down on the field, Kirk, just like you did.
Yeah.
And they called that timeout from the sideline. So they'll huddle up and try to get straightened out here with 11 against John David Booty and the Trojans.
That's not going to make Ron English very happy, the miscommunication.
Oh, it made him less happy if they'd have snapped that ball.
Right. Timeout. Well, it's time for that Aflac answer. And if you're a Michigan fan, you know the answer to this one. The last Michigan Wolverine to have his jersey number retired, the late President Gerald Ford. Number 48. And Bob Davie is still trying to think of another 48 around the country.
No, I have one because I coached one at Texas A&M.
Oh, okay.
What the bet I made to Brent was, I bet you can't name another player that wore number 48.
Well, he may have been the best right there. Now, Gerald Ford, they tried to get him to go to the NFL, as you know.
Exactly.
He turned it down and went to law school at Yale. And was a longtime congressman from the state of Michigan. Became president of the United States. The late Richard Nixon stepped away. What a nice man. Gerald Ford used to come around ball game. He was such a nice man. John David Booty, far side incomplete. No receiver down there.
There's still a little confusion there from Michigan. Rondell Biggs unsure and going back to the left and back to the right before the snap. He's now walking off the field and talking with Brandon Harrison. I think there was still a little confusion, and Michigan fortunate that did not catch up to them there.
These offenses are so well coached that confusion confused John David Booty. So it was probably a pretty good defensive call.
Yeah. Go out there and look lost.
One thing that's been good so far has been the tackling by both these teams. Wojtek does not get off a good punt. And it's going to be down at the 26-yard line. Bruston was back there. He was probably very conscious of number 15, and that's only a 24-yard punt. So we'll take a break in the first half. The Rose Bowl in Pasadena on a...
Well, everyone, John Saunders here with Craig James and Doug Flutie. Coming up at halftime, we're going to break down the first half.
Well, including looking at USC's defense. Question mark for me was, would they show up? I'll show you exactly what they've done.
Oh, yeah, they've got 5 sacks. They got to get this quick rhythm passing in this game. We're going to have a lot of sacks in this game.
Low scoring, a bit of a surprise. We'll talk about that. Plus, we'll show you highlights of all the other games played today. Right now, back up to Brent.
Doug and Craig, go get my man some hot tea, a little honey in it. Take care of him. I'll tell you what, John, he's playing a little hurt today, isn't he? Huh? Yeah. He's a gamer now, that John Saunders. We'll hear from the fellas at halftime. 2:13 to go here in the first half. First down and 10. Reaching for the handoff. Here's Hart, who's had very little running room. This USC defense determined to take number 20 away. That's 8 carries for 16 yards. Average only 2 yards a carry against this rough defense with Keith Rivers there, number 55.
So we could talk all we want about rhythm, passing, and what they need to do as far as giving Henny time to throw. I think it comes down to Mike DeBoer being able to establish the run in this second one. Once we get into this halftime, moving into the second half, Michigan's offense cannot function without Mike Hart establishing some rhythm to go back to Chad Henne and have the balance within that offense.
Empty. Throw it to Preston. Short of the first down marker. Clay Matthews is back there.
Kirk, what you say is exactly right. I mean, let's face it, Michigan is a run-first offense. They run the ball about 64% of the time. I thought Michigan, quite honestly, would be able to run the ball on USC. But I'll tell you what, USC's defense has done a great job.
You know, remember at the top of the broadcast, I said that Pete Carroll was concerned about Dallas Sartz. He had a sack early, but he has not been on the field for some time as Clay Matthews steps in. So we'll have to keep an eye on that story. 3rd down and 2. Here's Hart. Won't get it. Blown up first by Kerry Harris, the corner. Terrific job by the corner on run support there, Kirk.
Absolutely. Harris is there to fill the void there. Kevin Ellison is a team guy himself. He takes on the block from the fullback. It frees up Harris to come in, and then the rest of the defense from USC. And, Coach, you can see the speed and pursuit of that defense.
Kirk, and again, these two offenses so similar. There is no surprises in this game for these defenses, and they are teeing off right now.
USC will take its first time out of the game. A 4th down coming up. We want to see what they can do with the few remaining seconds. Well, fans, help decide the Pontiac game-changing performance of the year. Go to ESPN.com, and we all go there for scores, the highlights, all that stuff. You vote there. Search Pontiac, I guess, is what you latch on to now to determine which school will win the $100,000 General Scholarship Fund contribution, courtesy of Pontiac. And those are some pretty good game-changing performances right there. Those 4. Kirk, you got any favorites among those 4? Which way would you go there?
The game that I left for game day to come up to join you guys in Happy Valley. Remember the night Penn State played Michigan. The game Florida and Auburn, when Auburn came up with a big play there, that one sticks out to me. But there's so many great plays all year this year.
Let's talk a little bit about defense now. How about the defense in this game? And you know what defense is about? Having good players and recognition of what the offense is going to do. And because these offenses are so similar, these defenses are getting after it.
Imagine having a long layoff and then playing the best defenses that you've seen all year.
Well, and Brent made the point. The tackling in this game has been outstanding, and that was the big concern coming in, particularly for Michigan, who didn't tackle well against Ohio State.
Let's go back to punt again. Booms this one. And Reed signals early for a fair catch. I guess he wants to give the offense as many seconds as he can on that clock here with time running out. 29 seconds to go. 54-yard punt. So now John David Booty, when you're thinking, of course, of the big target, Dwayne Jarrett, Steve Smith is more the precise route runner. And if they can get Jarrett downfield, of course, the Wolverines are very aware of this. Their secondary will back off the line here, Coach, a little bit.
Yeah, and I think Lamar Woodley's going to get all those cleats in the ground right now and rush that passer if Booty hangs back there too long. I think USC may just run this thing out.
And they did. They didn't like their field position. They did just that, Coach. C.J. Gable, the freshman running back. So I don't believe I've seen a half in a long time. We didn't have a single penalty in this game, folks. We had a couple of field goals. We also didn't have a single touchdown. But trust me, it'll get explosive in the second half here before this one's done. So the Wolverines coming up to their near side dressing quarters. Let's go down to Lisa with Coach Pete Carroll.
Thanks a lot, Brent. Coach, 5 sacks by your defense. You got to be pleased. How has your defense been able to get so much pressure in on Henny?
Well, the guys are hitting the stuff real well. We've been coming after him a little bit, and we've been fortunate that the guys are popping, and then just when we're not, we're getting good heat. So we're pretty fortunate right now. They're going to change up some stuff. We better bring some new things in the second half.
All right, thanks a lot. Now let's send it over to Bonnie Bernstein.
Coach, your line's allowed just 18 sacks of Henny the entire season. What's USC done to penetrate so well?
They're doing a great job penetrating, and we've had a hard time running the football. And certainly we've got to do a better job protecting the quarterback. We've had some guys open, but we just haven't had enough time to throw the ball.
Speaking of your running back, 100-yard games are pretty much the norm for Mike Hart. How do you open up the lanes a little bit more?
Well, we got to block them, and it's pretty simple.
Coach, thank you. Brent.
Bonnie, thank you. 5 sacks resulted in 33 yards of losses. So stay tuned for the Pontiac Performance Halftime Show with John Saunders, Craig James, and Doug Flutie after this message and a word from our ABC stations.
Angeles chapter of a nationwide group called the After School All-Stars. The After School All-Stars provides fun, safe after-school activities for kids just like us. We get help on our homework, play sports, and make new friends too.
After School All-Stars has inspired thousands of middle school students to succeed in life. Thank you, City, ESPN, ABC, and the Tournament of Roses for inviting us here today and inspiring the All-Stars of tomorrow.
And here are the after-school All-Stars enjoying today's Rose Bowl. Now, right now, the Trojan Marching Band, 270 members strong on the field. The director, Dr. Arthur C. Bartner. Let's give a listen.
For a 3-3 halftime score. This was outstanding defense on both sides of the ball. If I'm a game or I'm a senior offensive lineman, I'm going to get right into the face of my offensive linemen and challenge them, because both offensive lines were completely dominated in the first half. Whoever comes out in the second half better prepared on the offensive line is going to win this game.
Home Depot coaching adjustments, and let's start with Michigan.
It goes back to the point about being able to establish the running game. Michigan cannot win a football game without having the ability to run the football to set up the pass.
And if I'm Pete Carroll, I throw the football in the second half. We tried to run it in the first half. Michigan #1 in rush defense in the country. Booty's got his confidence back. The pass protection's been pretty good. We are a pass-first team. Let's throw the football if I'm SC.
John David Booty, 10 of 16 in the first half for 102 yards. No touchdowns, obviously, and no interceptions. And he will handle the ball to start the second half. Chad Henne on the other side was 8 of 12, 85 yards. And no interceptions either. Just that one turnover was a fumble by USC. And so Garrett Revis with the ball on the tee. The sun starting to set here in Pasadena. And this will come out on the 20-yard line for John David. So our first half stats here, Kirk, and they look this way.
Well, the thing that stands out, of course, is at the bottom here where you see 5 sacks for the University of Southern California. And you think about that and you think, boy, what a great advantage. They must be winning this game. But because of the way Michigan's defense has played, Coach, no penalties for either team. We've got a tight ball game.
And that's the great news for Michigan. It's only 3-3. They're a run-first team, Kirk, so they don't have to abandon what they do best, run the football, even though they're struggling right now on offense.
They open with Jarrett in the slot. Patrick Turner is the third wideout, along with Steve Smith. So 3 wide for the Trojans. And they will put it up on first down. Smith coming through the formation. And he's run out of bounds on the 29-yard line. Willis Behringer, the safety. So the impact players for the Trojans, their big 3. There we gave you John David's numbers. CJ, he has been held down to only 17 rushing yards. But take a look at Dwayne Jarrett. 6 catches already for 58 yards. Now a second down and short, but just as you suggested, Bob, they put it up on first down.
Yeah, and remember, Michigan gave up 316 yards passing and 4 touchdowns to Ohio State. Roll the football.
Gable is the tailback, trying to get the first down, and Michigan defense very stout. Prescott Burgess, number 6, is in there. Short of the first down, and now the Trojans will face a third down. They have used as a fullback Alan Bradford, the freshman from San Bernardino. He goes off to the side now.
It's amazing. USC had gone 63 straight games of scoring more than 20 points. Prior to the UCLA game, they scored 9. Here they are stuck on 3, but against a great defensive team.
Mike Brittingham in at fullback the last time in. They threw to him, but he is lined up in a power fullback formation here. And he'll lead the way for Gable, and the Wolverines jump the play at the point of attack. Terrence Taylor gets there first, number 67, the sophomore from Muskegon.
And this is the #1 rushing defense in the country. And, I mean, they just attacked the line of scrimmage. The big nose guard, Terrence Taylor, at 315 pounds in the middle.
So much talk about Alan Branch and Lamar Woodley. Terrence Taylor, often as a sophomore, goes unrecognized.
Woydneck punts it, and Bruston. Fair catch signal at the 31-yard line. And so there, Chad Henne and the Wolverines will have their first series of the second half. Tied at 3, and 2 defenses dominating here in the Rose Bowl. The Rose Bowl game presented by City. Tied at 3, Mike Hart averaging just a little over 2 yards a carry. He is in a deep set, you can see, behind Chad Henne. They're going to try him right away. A little bit of a gash. His longest run of the game was the opening offensive play. Ellis making the stop. We look at the Wolverines. We gave you Henne's passing stats. There you can see Mike Hart, 9 carries for 21. Mario Manningham with only 2 catches, Kirk, for 30 yards.
Talked about Mike Hart and Michigan having to establish the run here in this second half. He's the spark plug. He's the emotional leader. I'm sure he is challenging that offensive line to step up and help him out in this offense out.
Manningham's off to the left. They're going to run hard again. Got the first down. So it looks like they picked up the tempo a little bit, but they're running more to the right side, Bob. They favored the left side in that first half.
Well, the other thing, Brent, Mike Hart's one of those guys, the more you give him the ball, even though he's small, the better he gets. 4 times this year, he's had over 30 carries. They're going to put it on his back now in this second half.
And it was one of the first times we've seen since maybe the opening drive, the offensive line getting a good push and getting up to the linebackers there and giving Mike Hart some room to run.
Arrington and freshman Greg Matthews are the wideouts. Matthews is off to Henne's right. They're going to keep it on the ground.
You know, you always talk about in the zone blocking scheme that the running back has to be patient. I also think the play caller has to be patient. There's times when we're going to take the zone away, but then all of a sudden, somebody's going to break down on gap control for the defense, Kirk, and there's your big run. So not only the running back, the play caller has to be patient as well.
And one of the adjustments we've seen here from Michigan early from Mike DeBoard is trying to mix in 2 tight ends and going with Mike Hart back there by himself.
Needing 8 yards. On a play fake, under pressure, wanted the screen, throws a pick. USC ball at the 39-yard line is Lawrence Jackson. The defensive end blows up the screen attempt.
And Pete Carroll comes with the blitz. Both outside linebackers, Keith Rivers and Dallas Sartz, from the outside. You see Chad Henne on the little play action. Here comes Sartz, and he panics and throws the football to number 96, Lawrence Jackson. Kirk, but again, the pressure with the double outside linebacker blitz.
Pretty good feel there that time by Jackson as a defensive lineman to read the quarterback's eyes and realize he had his head on a swivel looking for a back, and the ball just happened to hit him right in the chest.
It is possible that it was emphasized to Henne during halftime that he had to get rid of the ball. He rushed that one a little bit. First down and 10 now for John David Booty off a play fake. Completes it to Smith. Picks up about 6 yards on that. Morgan Trent, the defender for the Wolverines. The last time, Bob, that the Trojans stocked the end zone, they turned it over on a fumble.
Exactly, and Brent, you go back to that previous turnover by Michigan. Michigan leads the country in the fewest number of turnovers with only 10 in 12 games. So a great opportunity right here for USC.
Chris Graham comes onto the field defensively. Alan Bradford is out for the Trojans. Play fake, Booty rolls hard to the right, throws in underneath, and picks up the first down with Bradford catching his first pass of the game. So the young man we heard about today from Pete Carroll, he said he liked how he's practiced. He's a redshirt freshman from San Bernardino.
And they're coming out doing exactly what Coach, you and I talked about at halftime, and you said here at the start of this second half is you leave the running game with the exception of from time to time sprinkling it in to let Michigan know you have that ability to do it. You put the ball into the hands of your quarterback and you mix the play calling up, try to move the launch point around, which they've done a very good job of moving Booty around here to start this second half.
Straight back, throws to the big man. First and goal, Dwayne Jarrett at the 2-yard line. John David Booty delivers a strike, 25 yards.
And what is really tough about that, John David Booty rolled away, and a great little head and shoulder fake by Dwayne Jarrett to get inside Morgan Trent.
Dwayne Jarrett sets this up perfectly, and the timing, Booty anticipates that and throws the ball while Jarrett is actually in his cut.
Play stopped on the field. As you know, every play upstairs is reviewed.
The previous play is under review.
So they'll take a look at it. Make sure that Jarrett had possession. It's certainly from the naked eye, although we certainly didn't have a look at the front of the reception. So let's take another look at it.
Once the contact comes over, safety doing a nice job of separating Jarrett from the ball. It's a matter of whether or not his knee is down before the ball comes out.
I thought his right knee was down, but I am certainly not the decision maker in this process. There was no question the ball was loose, but then the whistle blows down there too. So let's not forget that.
Exactly, because the whistle blew, nobody recovered the football.
I think he'll be down right there.
I think they're going to rule that knee was down, and then the football came out.
Yeah, we'll see. The ball was loose in there. I mean, there's no question. And, Jack Childress, the ACC referee, has got it, and looks like Lloyd didn't like the news.
After further review, the play stands as called on the field. First down.
So it'll be a first and goal from the 2-yard line. Coach Carroll talking to Dwayne Jarrett to go back on a story we covered in the first half. This well could be Dwayne Jarrett's last game. There's a pretty good wide receiver down at Georgia Tech by the name of Johnson, who had a huge game in a mini list, he would figure to be #1. So a lot of these youngsters have to weigh, if we stay another year, might be next year. Anyway, here comes John David Booty, wide open, touchdown, nothing doing as Chris McFoy rolls wide open for the touchdown. Breakdown in coverage that time, and John David Booty's first touchdown pass in his last 6 quarters.
The Trojans take advantage of the Michigan turnover.
Danello. Slips it inside the post. So the afternoon's first touchdown boosts the Trojans to a 7-point lead, 10-3, 8:43 remaining in the 3rd quarter.
Exclusive coverage of the Rose Bowl game presented by Citi. Brought to you by Citi. It's easier to get the rewards you want. Dodge. You can take life as it comes, or you can grab life by the horns. And Taco Bell. Think outside the bun.
Downtown Pasadena, and we're at the Rose Bowl with USC leading 10-3. John David Booty, first touchdown of the game on a pass on busted coverage against the Wolverine defense. We'll take another look after the kickoff. Let's see what Bruston can do if he handles it. Beeler with the ball on the tee. He's handled the kickoff duties today for USC. High and short. Here comes Bruston from the 12. Surrounded short of the 20-yard line. Tremendous coverage. Let's go back to the score.
And this play action on the touchdown is really difficult to defend for this defensive back right here playing man-to-man coverage. He gets action right at him, but Chris McFoy runs away from him, and that's stealing right there. Throw and catch.
McFoy getting away from the defender, and the play side defenders, I think, were consumed with Fred Davis, the tight end who was right in front of them. They all collapsed up front, making an easy throw of McFoy in the back of the end zone.
Trailing for the 2nd time this afternoon. Chad Henne changing it at the line. Running Hart. And there was Mamaluga as we check in with Bonnie Bernstein. Bonnie?
Well, Brent, Michigan defensive coordinator Ron English up in arms after the busted play on that touchdown. That was example A of what it has driven him crazy the entire season. He said, we have veterans in the secondary, yet they haven't paid heed to the analogy that if you touch the hot stove once, you don't go back to the hot stove. You're supposed to follow your guy, play hard, execute, follow the goals we set at the beginning of the season. He doesn't have an explanation for what happened, but unfortunately, it's been a bad pattern for Michigan's pass defense all year.
2nd down and 8 coming up for Henne. And incidentally, Dallas Sarch, number 42, is back on the field. He missed most of the 2nd quarter. Here's Hart. And he is being taken down by Keith Rivers, the junior from Lake Mary, Florida. He's a youngster who got away from the Gators. It was between Florida and USC, he told us, and he opted to come west.
And Keith Rivers told us he went back home to Orlando, Florida over the Christmas break. Took a lot of grief from the Gator fans. But that time, again, one thing the zone play usually does, zone blocking, it takes away penetration. And that time, Keith Rivers just shot the gap.
Those linebackers are flying downhill right now to Michael Hart before he even has his hands on the ball.
3rd and 7. Henne and the Wolverines need to get beyond the 30. In trouble, under pressure, incomplete, and it could have been picked off. That was Thomas, and a shot at it. Manningham, the intended target. Henne under enormous pressure.
This is starting to remind me of the USC-UCLA game that you guys did about a month ago, but on the other side this time.
The opposite, because both defensive ends, Lawrence Jackson and Kyle Moore, almost forced that thing into an interception right there.
Nice blitz again, mixing up the looks, confusing the offensive line is exactly what Pete Carroll wants to do.
Now Mesko, early on in this game, he was under enormous pressure. Here's Reed from the 40. Penalty. Illegal block was thrown. That is the first penalty of this Rose Bowl game. And it came with 6:26 remaining in the third quarter.
Brent, I think they're going to get Mike Brittingham.
It's our guy.
The fullback who made an impact catching the football on an illegal block in the back right there.
During the return, number 30, blocked in the back by the offensive team. That's a 10-yard penalty. First down.
You mentioned the first penalty of the game, a pretty obvious one right there with the block in the back.
So the Trojans will come up after the penalty. They'll have the ball on their own 30-yard line. Chad Henne has been under enormous pressure. That's the highlight of the game. The Rose Bowl game presented by City. The sun's starting to set on the granddaddy. 2007. Where does the time go? Well, first down and 10 now for the Trojans. They lead it by a touchdown, and they have done it. Jarrett juggles that one incomplete. They have done it the way Bob Davies suggested that they do it. They've gone airborne in the second half.
They have thrown on 1st and 10 every single time here on the second half, and relying now on John David Booty, his group of wide receivers. That was the advantage coming into the game. If Booty would have time to throw with his offensive line, they felt that they could attack the Michigan secondary, and that's what they're doing here in this second half.
Looks like we've got a timeout called by the Trojans. And John David will go over to Pete Carroll's sideline to talk about it. Now here is the interception which led to the television, or to the touchdown.
Yeah, this is exactly how Chad Henne did not want to start the second half. Maybe forcing it there, getting rid of the ball a little bit early, and then setting up this easy throw for John David Booty after he threw the SC offense, threw him right down the field with his arm.
But again, it's all generated from the pressure. That interception was a direct byproduct of the pressure that Pete Carroll has continued to bring on this Michigan offense. And, you know, one thing if you're Michigan's offense, and I talked to Lloyd Carr about this yesterday, when you commit to the zone running game, you only have 2 running plays, an inside zone and an outside zone. And the fear is when someone takes that away, what do? You don't have a counter. You don't have a lot of misdirection plays. And right now, USC has been able to take that zone running play away.
And Lisa, a lot of smiles over there on the USC sideline.
That's right, Brent. It was that play. That's when this USC sideline came alive. Players, it had been pretty quiet down here until that point. After that defensive interception and leading to the touchdown, players no longer just standing on the sideline. They are waving their arms, jumping up and down on every play. Tight end coach Brennan Carroll even jumped up on the bench, turned to the crowd, waved his arms and said, "Wake up, too quiet in here." Brent?
Well, the Wolverines, who have lost 3 straight bowl games under Lloyd Carr, are down 10-3 right now with the defense on the field. And there's our second penalty, folks. You can book it.
That's a pretty good penalty, getting that 315 pounds moving in one direction. Right?
I'd say.
Offside, number 67, back contact, 5-yard penalty, still second down.
Michigan is without a sack. We've talked a lot about the USC. 5 sacks in the first half for 33 yards and losses. This very good Wolverine defense is without a sack of John David Booty. They have moved the pocket with John David a little bit, but he has played very well. His release has been quick. His running backs have blocked well to protect. Second down and 5 for the Trojans. There's a play fake. There's Booty rolling again. Throwing in underneath. Picking up Davis for another first down. And there is no question, Bob, but that John David Booty is more agile today than he was earlier coming down the stretch against UCLA and Notre Dame.
There's no question, and that's the adjustment USC has made. Again, if you don't blitz against this play-action pass, those kind of crossing routes, you see Fred Davis right there, they're virtually unstoppable against zone coverage with no pressure.
I think a lot of people wondered how USC would be able to slow down Michigan's pass rush after the UCLA game. And as we've talked about, it's the snap count, it's chipping on the defensive ends, it's moving Booty around. It's a bunch of different things that have added up to a lot.
Under pressure, hit on the release, incomplete. Booty standing tall in the pocket. That'll be noted by the coaches. They and teammates appreciate and admire toughness. When you know the heat's coming and you stand here like this, you're going to take a licking.
Again, Sean Crable, the outside linebacker at the top. To Fred Davis, they kept the tight end, as Kirk mentioned. He just couldn't block Sean Crable. And fortunate, Booty wasn't injured right there because he was in a vulnerable position.
See, I think Ron English is going to start to turn up the heat himself by bringing those linebackers more and more. They've had a lot of success when they have brought number 2.
The short drop, Smith on the snap, runs his precise route, breaks free. 35-30, brought down from behind at the 21-yard line. Leon Hall, the senior, hauls him down.
And it really reminds me right now of the Ohio State game. The quick pass and then the missed tackles by the Michigan secondary. This is exactly what got them in trouble against Ohio State.
The goal of the game for Steve Sarkisian and Lane Kiffin was to isolate the safeties and the corners, put them in space, utilize the speed of Steve Smith and Dwayne Jarrett, and force those Michigan defensive backs to have to tackle.
First down and 10. Now it's Booty's turn to change it up. Washington's his running back. On the slant, touchdown USC, Jarrett. There's a memo to Keyshawn. That'll work in the NFL too.
And how about the check by John David Booty? Michigan went straight man-to-man, and he just went to the slam route. And Dwayne Jarrett with the big body just out-muscled Morgan Trent to the outside.
And a great throw to the inside away from the defender, and that's a mismatch. Dwayne Jarrett against Morgan Trent. You will take that as a quarterback every single time, and all of a sudden, guys, John David Booty is in rhythm, getting back and getting rid of the ball on time.
Danello misses this one off to the right. 16-3 on the missed extra point. So here is Jarrett breaking free. 8 catches, 105 yards, and now a touchdown. Pete Carroll and the Trojans are dominating suddenly. Production available on ABC HD, presented by Oliva. So the Trojan sideline all smiles. They have scored touchdowns on their last 2 possessions. And they have taken a 16-3 lead as there was a missed extra point. And Bob Davie, the forward pass turned it around.
Well, there's no question USC is a pass-first team, and John David Booty is in his comfort zone right now.
10 passes and only 2 runs. So here comes Bruston. Wolverines need something good to happen right here. He bolts to the 21-yard line.
And Brent, let's take a look at what John David Booty saw at the line of scrimmage. It's a pretty easy read. He sees Morgan Trent, 1 DB right here. The next DB is clear over here, so that means he has all this area to work with no defensive back.
Once he recognizes that, he makes the check. It's just a matter of the best receiver in the country, or one of the best receivers in the country, getting physical and just being just a lot stronger than Morgan Trent. He got great position to the inside.
Wait a second. That should have been a penalty right there with that little fadeaway jump shot. It's like the New York Giants thing, right?
It's getting old already. It started about 3 weeks ago.
Chad Henney reaches now to Mike Hart. Back on the left side to the 25-yard line, and Lawrence Jackson, who made that big interception just prior to their first touchdown. Here's Ron English now, trying to keep the troops fired up, trying to keep their heads in the game.
We saw this Michigan team in Columbus down 28-14 We saw a lot of enthusiasm when they came back into the game. He's talking about his jump shots there on the sideline. We saw a lot of enthusiasm in Columbus when they fought back. Right now, we're not seeing any enthusiasm. They need a play to spark them.
2nd and 6. Henney sees the blitzer coming. Steps away from the pressure, drops it in underneath. And Manningham to the 41-yard line, and a 1st and 10 before Thomas turns him upside down.
One of the few times USC doesn't bring pressure, and you actually see the quarterback, Chad Henne, coach, with some time to throw the football.
Exactly, and what bought him even more time, he stepped up again, and you see Mario Manningham on the crossing route right there. Boy, good lick right there by Terrell Thomas, who came into this game with really a separated shoulder.
He did that in the face of a safety blitz from Kevin Ellison. He saw Ellison coming all the way, and Ellison was picked up by Reuben Riley, who did a great job of picking up the blitzer. 1st down and 10 now for the Wolverines. There's a quick strike over to the side. Pick up a couple of yards, but not much, as Keith Rivers is over there with Kerry Harris, the corner, and Manningham quickly escorted by one of the side judges. Good officiating over there.
And I go back to this, the experience of Chad Henne. 37th start. Could come out as a junior, announced already he's coming back to Michigan. A lot of players would panic. I don't think Chad Henne's going to panic. And because of that, Michigan still has a legitimate shot to get back and win this football game.
If the offensive line will help him, he has a shot.
Rustin and Manningham are out of the game right now.
That means they're going to run it, right?
No, Arrington's down there. Fumble on the sack. Jumping in over the top. SC recovered it. No question at the 31. Jack Childress is right there. Brian Cushing, his 3rd sack of the game, forces the fumble.
Brian Cushing. Let's try to find him. He comes on an inside twist stunt right there. He looped inside from his defensive end position. He ends up beating Adam Kraus, number 57. This is another huge turnover.
And Jackson, Lawrence Jackson, who made the interception, recovers the fumble, and Carroll and the Trojan sideline explode.
This is on its way to being a Pete Carroll clinic film. He's going to be able to use when people come in during spring ball to talk about his blitz schemes. This is exactly how he envisioned this football game going with his defense against this Michigan offense.
1st and 10, and Pete Carroll telling us the other day he's about to bring in what he thinks is his best recruiting class ever. As John David Booty throws a strike, almost one-handed by Jarrett, had the left mid on it. Overlet him just a little bit. Jarrett had broken free at the end, and John David knows it. Just a few inches difference, and that would have been another 6.
Well, they had exactly what they wanted right there. A little outside movement and stem back inside, and he beats the safety Willis Behringer. And even when he doesn't catch it, it kind of looks spectacular, doesn't it?
Yeah. Well, Behringer brought onto the post corner to the outside, making it so easy. And well, that's one you typically would see Booty and Jarrett connect on.
Now 2nd and 10 for John David. Drops it off in the flat. He overthrows. Was it a lateral? There's a youngster reacting well to that as Gable went after the ball in case it was thrown behind him. It would have been a free football out of bounds on that side.
Second half, talk about bowl games and intersectional matchups. Pac-10, Big Ten. First half, not so much, but second half, we're seeing a lot of speed from USC against the Michigan defense and an offense that just cannot stay on the field with the Wolverine, with the USC team right now.
3rd and 10. Complete short of the 1st down marker. Comes to Fred Davis, his junior tight end from Toledo, Ohio. Brandon Harrison makes a stop.
One guy we need to talk about today is Kyle Williams, number 78, the offensive tackle. I mean, this guy had 3 false starts against UCLA. He was crucified in this city for his performance. He left the team for one day. He came back. It's good to see him playing well and bouncing back.
Going to go for it. 4th down. Empty the backfield. They'll have 5 targets for John David.
It's straight man-to-man coverage across the board.
And he keeps it himself. So John David Booty takes it right straight ahead for the 1st down. No, you were talking about the tackle, the right tackle, Kyle Williams over there. Let me see exactly where he got the spot. Did he not get it? Lamar Woodley gets credit for that stop. And you were talking about the tackle, Bob, and Kyle and both Sam Baker. They were both criticized for their performance against UCLA. They have held up very well. There's Kyle, number 78. Here comes this measurement, and I may have miscalled this. Nope, 1st down.
Not very often you don't hit it right now. Huh? I'll tell you what.
Starting the 07 season in the right way.
I know.
I sweat that.
I know.
That was luck. Pure luck.
Well, they felt the pressure from the outside, and what a gutsy call here on 4th down. You're going to rely on Booty trying to a little unorthodox way of picking up a 1st down, but the pressure, I think he probably he is fired up.
You really think he's going to the Arizona Cardinals now? As much fun as he's having.
Think so.
Come on.
He tells me he's got the best recruiting class coming in. 1st down and 10. Never thought he was going. He keeps telling me he's not going. That's what he's telling everybody. And play fake in trouble. And incomplete, so it'll be 2nd down. Folks, I want to go back to practice a couple of days ago. We were out at practice. That man right there is the first head coach I have ever seen come down the field on kickoff coverage. Now they weren't full pads, so don't be misled. But they had about 14 guys coming down. There is Coach Carroll running down on every kickoff. He was trying to strip the ball, and yes, he was blocked a little bit by one player later. Then afterwards, he got into a passing drill. You know, he's had an injured shoulder this year, but he was snapping off strikes. It is really different when you go to a Pete Carroll coach practice, and he really enjoys this. High incomplete.
You know, and it's actually genuine.
Absolutely.
I've been to a lot of his practices, and he's the only coach in America that has a loose practice on especially the day before the game, but at the same time, they're getting stuff done, they're moving around, but the fact that it's genuine, the enthusiasm from him, even right now on the sidelines, that is who he is, and that's why I think he is a perfect fit in college football.
He gave me a great answer. I said, how long did it take for the pain of the UCLA loss to go away? He said, you know, within 2 or 3 days, I was back to work, but he said, part of me will never forget. And that's the way it should be when you lose one like that. 3rd down and 10. John David firing middle, strike to the 9-yard line, and a 1st down. That is Smith. So Steve Smith, now he's a senior, and he'll be interesting to watch because he'll get a chance in the National Football League, too.
And we talked about Kyle Williams, 78. Right there you see John David Booty step up and deliver the football, something against UCLA he didn't do. He stepped up and panicked right there because Lamar Woodley was coming around the corner.
And a thing that I see that Steve Sarkisian and Lane Kiffin are having John David Booty do, attack the middle of that Michigan defense, right behind the linebackers between the safeties.
Terrific performance by John David. Empty again. High and incomplete. Going to Jarrett. Now it'll be 2nd down and goal.
You know, we were around the football complex. You got the feeling that Mark Sanchez, everybody talks about the backup quarterback, the coaches included, how much talent Mark Sanchez has. I had the feeling coming to this game, John David Booty really did need to play outstanding, or Mark Sanchez might be in this football game.
Well, I'll tell you one thing. Sanchez will have a chance, there he is, number 6, to win the job regardless of what happens today. Pete Carroll told us everything is wide open when it comes to spring practice. And with this talented freshman class, he said every job will be up for grabs, including the quarterback, no matter what happens. Throws incomplete. Twice tried to go to Jarrett, and Brandon Harrison was there on number 8. And young, talented wide receiver from New Jersey, New Brunswick, New Jersey.
He says that about his quarterback. And if he wins this game, replacing Matt Leinart with all the offense that they lost, and he finishes with 11 wins and probably close to a top 5 finish, he might say that to try to light a fire to keep him motivated with Mark Sanchez, but it would be tough to take John David Booty after all that game experience from this year out of that lineup for the 07 season.
So here's your 3rd and goal now for the Trojans. And they're going to call a timeout. So they'll use up the second one with 58 seconds remaining in the 3rd quarter. We look down on our scene here in Pasadena. This aerial coverage brought to you by Goodyear Tires, featuring triple tread technology. Well, we've talked a lot about USC, and we should mention again what we said at the top of the broadcast. It was our opinion that whoever won this game, will enter next season as the preseason #1 for a couple of reasons. Both have star players coming back next year, and both have solid recruiting classes coming along. So for those reasons, we would tout the winner of this. And let's take a look now. Here are the players returning next season. Take a look at the list here. You see the 2 question marks at the bottom. Dwayne Jarrett, Alan Branch. So, Coach, what's your feeling about these lists?
Well, first of all, I don't think I've ever seen this many talented players announce that they're coming back. And to me, that tells me about the chemistry of both of these football teams. And that's why whoever wins this game, in my opinion, will be the #1 ranked team next season, because players don't come back if the chemistry is not right on the football team.
Well, the thing about USC is they're such a young football team. I mean, Dallas Sarge is one of the few seniors involved in this team, so they're going to all be back. And Michigan had so many of their guys, as Coach talked about, deciding to come back, and that does affect things. Both these teams, regardless of the outcome of this game, are going to be in the top 5, but the winner will be the preseason #1 team.
3rd down and goal. There's going to be a little bit different kind of pressure up in Michigan, though, if they lose this. We're going to talk about this in the 4th quarter. 3rd down and goal. John David Booty with the backfield empty. Touchdown. No. Wave it off. Thought he had it for a second. I thought Jarrett was going to grab it. They wave it off. So it is 4th down, and they send the field goal unit on the field.
Again, Coach, attacking the middle of the defense where there is just huge voids in the Michigan secondary.
Tell you what, though, Willis Behringer made a great play right there and jarred that football. David Harris coming in really got the football out. But you're right, Kirk. The middle of that field is open right there. How about David Harris? That's a heck of a play for a linebacker.
That is a great play. That's what it'll be like when he plays Sunday football.
Sounds like we're reviewing this.
Yeah, I think that, again, on the college review play, there's not a challenge. They're just reviewing the play. You can take a look as he goes up in the air, grabbed it.
There's a good look at it right here.
Yeah.
Incomplete.
Officials very quick today on the reviews.
And you know,
we appreciate that.
Okay, Dave Perry made an excellent point. Indisputable evidence is the key. Well, if it's indisputable, they should be able to make the decision that quick, because that is indisputable evidence.
For whatever reason, it's been a challenge throughout the 06 season, but today it's been outstanding.
So here's Danello's field goal attempt. Remember, he just missed an extra point. This is a 26-yarder. Slips this one through. 19-3. Trojans lead it. Quarter and 48 seconds left in Pasadena for the Wolverines, who came in here with a 3-game bowl losing streak. And reminder now, on Wednesday, catch one of the hottest comedies of the season. Everyone needs a little life support in case of emergency. On the ABC Wednesday at 9:30, 8:30 Central Time. Now I want to go back to the point we were making about Lloyd Carr and Michigan. What's different about his loss than if Pete Carroll had been on the other? I know we still got a quarter to play, so we don't want to count him out. But remember now, they have lost those 3 straight games to their arch rival, Troy Smith. So we're closing out 3 straight years with back-to-back losses, and that is what got John Cooper in Columbus, don't forget, there's heavy heat when you lose to your arch rival and then you go into the bowl game and also lose. There's going to be media pressure. Now, I'm not going to say there's going to be any heat within the administration. Bill Martin is very loyal to Lloyd Carr, loves what he's done. He's accomplished so much, and I'm not trying to start anything, but I do know that the media and the people on the websites and the bloggers, they're going to come after the coach.
Didn't they all get one step put away for the year after coming into this season? All we heard about was that Lloyd Carr possibly could get replaced, and all of a sudden he had a year that was very magical until they came up a little bit short in Columbus. I thought we put the bloggers away for a year.
They're going to put them away for an hour and a half. You got to be kidding.
So they're going to come back, huh? If they don't,
they're tapping away right now.
They're listening to you tapping away.
You know what? I'm not really worried about the bloggers, but I'll tell you this: when you lose your last 2 football games of the year, the only way to get over a tough loss is to win a game. You have to wait an awful long time to play again if you're Lloyd Carr.
Now, remember now, Kirk, you said you thought you'd put them away. That was 2006.
Right. What a new year.
I turned the calendar.
You're right.
We'll be out there on the 20-yard line. Remind at the beginning tomorrow you can download all the action from today's game on iTunes.
I'll tell you what, Pete Carroll's probably drawing the blitzes up on the sidelines now because Michigan's getting to a point where they have to obviously throw the football.
Trailing by 16. And he rolls out and comes underneath to his tight end. And he's blasted out of bounds after a couple-yard gain. Tyler Ecker is hit by Keith Rivers. Keith Rivers, the junior from Lake Mary, Florida, has been very active here for the Trojans.
You know, I don't know if you're necessarily surprised that USC's defense is playing well. I mean, again, Pete Carroll telling us all year this is the fastest defense that he's had. What I'm surprised by is the way they've taken the life completely away from Michigan's team. I mean, you look at the sidelines these last couple quarters, there's just a bunch of maize and blue standing around waiting for their assignment. On the other side of the field, there's a lot of excitement that we've seen in the second half.
Well, what happens when you make a living running the football like Michigan and you're able to take that away? You take away their heart now. They've survived all year with that zone running game, Michigan.
Here's 2nd down and 7 for the Wolverines. Preston for a 1st down to the 35-yard line, and Rivers again, number 55, and that's a famous number, isn't it, here at USC? Some great players. Junior Seau wore that number, and a lot of folks believe that Junior Seau was one of the greatest college linebackers of all time. He's pretty good in the NFL too, come to think of it. 1st down and 10. And Manningham, 9 more yards, and pushed out of bounds by Harris.
I tell you what, though, Chad Henne can throw that deep out about as good as anyone now, and he rifled that throw.
They're in predictable play calling mode right now because they have to throw, but I think that's where Chad Henne, a lot of times we've seen where he can get into his own rhythm, sometimes in even a better rhythm when he gets back there, gets his feet set, and gets rid of the football than at times where he has struggled within the offense.
Ohio State.
Yeah, when they got back in a little bit of a desperation mode, they were able to make some plays.
Second down and 1. Henne slips, steps away, run for the 1st down, slides into it, and takes a look from Cushing. 1 quarter to go for Chad Henne and Michigan. Trailing by 16, and the Rose Bowl game presented by City returns after this message and a word from our ABC stations. By City. And we have reached the final quarter of a USC lead here, 19-3. They struck first. Michigan tied it at 3. They went to the intermission, deadlocked at that. But here in the second half, USC has taken over. Mike Hart has been held to 42 yards, and now basically he's a blocker for Henne. And again into the hands of Tyler Ecker. And he is surrounded, and leading defender there was Dallas Sartz. So with Hart being held to 42 yards, you can say that the Trojan defense has taken away Michigan's heart and heart.
It's where that 37 games starting in the career of Chad Henne comes into play, working a no-huddle offense with so much time still to go.
Short of the first down. It's been tough for the little man today. Cedric Ellis, the junior, is right there, and he's another of those talented Trojans coming back next year. He's a junior. That defensive front, sophomore, junior.
They are stopping Mike Hart today because they're getting penetration with the defensive line, Brent, and also just completely running downhill with those linebackers.
On 3rd and 2, wide open. Ecker for the 1st and 10, battles his way to the 23-yard line. There is a penalty flag, however. Hold on, thrown back around the 49-yard line.
I think we're going to get Dallas Sartz going up high a little bit and late on Chad Henne.
Roughing the passer, number 42 in the defense. Half the distance to the goal for the end of the run. 1st down.
A very well officiated game by this ACC crew. No question about that. Came very late.
Brent, it's a good call, but the line doing a good enough job that time to allow Chad Henne to find the open receiver. Dallas Sartz coming very, very close to getting in there on time, but it's definitely a late hit.
You really do see the ability, though, of Chad Henne in the comeback ability of this Michigan football team.
End zone, hanging on, touchdown, Adrian Arrington. Finally, they get the ball into Arrington's hands, and it's for a touchdown. I believe they'll go for 2 here. The signal from the sideline. They're going to go for 2. Down 16, Lloyd didn't hesitate.
The blitz in one-on-one coverage on the outside. Arrington and Terrell Thomas, pretty good coverage, but a seed thrown by Chad Henne to the inside to give his receiver the chance to make the catch.
Starts Arrington in motion. It's Hart. Busts the first tackle. Got it. Game on.
And I'll tell you, it's a chess game. He checked to that run because of the look of the USC defense.
Well, this is what Michigan needed to spark themselves to get back into the game. Chad Henne leads them right down the field, making some big throws, and they get the 2-point conversion from Michael Hart.
Back to within 1 score here in the 4th quarter.
We gave the all-new Altima inspired design, advanced technology, aggressive performance, and what looked great on paper is even better on the road. Introducing the next generation Nissan Altima.
We are back. 19-11. Michigan down 8. Let's take another look.
This is what Michigan needed. Yeah, Chad Henne, we talked about how he's in rhythm when he seems to be in a little bit of a rush, desperation mode, and a great throw that time to Arrington.
And with Chad Henne and Michael Hart, you knew Michigan was not going to go away. That was a great run right there for the touchdown, for the 2-point conversion. Excuse me.
Chad Henne, 6 of 6 on that drive for 62 yards and, of course, the touchdown.
Gable and Reed are back deep. Ball on the tee for Rivas. Here we go. Picked up by Gable, the running back. There's Hood pulling him down at the 26. We check in with Bonnie.
Brent, you guys were right when you said that touchdown jump-started Chad Henne. In fact, he was just telling me this week these pressure situations are what he thrives on. He says, I love having that on my shoulders, like I have to lead my team to victory. And he referenced back to week 3 against Notre Dame. He said, up until that point, we didn't show that we had a passing game. Notre Dame was number 2. We had a 3-game losing streak up in South Bend. And in that first half, Brent, you might remember, he hooked up with Mario Manningham for 3 touchdowns. Right now, this is Chad Henne's prime situation.
Yeah, exactly, Bonnie. And right now, John David Booty will try to keep the chains moving. Just right at the chain with that strike to Jarrett. Looks like he could have been about a half yard short.
Coach, you made an interesting point earlier about SC has a lead, but they don't have the ability to run the ball against Michigan. Do they continue to tack with the 8-point lead into the 4th quarter? They continue to throw against this Michigan defense where they have the advantage, or they eventually try to have to work some clock by trying to do something they're not comfortable with in running?
Knowing Pete Carroll's personality, he is going to keep attacking, and deep down he knows he really cannot run the football against Michigan.
And Wally in at fullback. Play fake. Booty, as he was going out of bounds, throws it downfield, and that's incomplete. Fred Davis was the intended target. He goes out of bounds on that far side. So now it'd be 3rd down and short coming up here for the Trojans.
The reason I ask you that, Coach, is I know you're a conservative guy by nature. So this is going to be painful for you to watch, because as good as John David Booty is, you're 1 interception away or 1 mistake away from Michigan getting the ball.
How do you know I'm conservative? Is it because the clothes I wear? Or, I mean, what is it? Brent, why does he think I'm conservative?
It's me. 3rd and 1. John David did it once earlier. Now he comes back with the 1st down, right straight ahead behind Ryan Khalil. A little bit of an undersized, but a very talented senior center from Corona, California.
The reason I think you're a conservative guy is anytime this year we've had 4th and short, I'm up here saying, go for it, go for it. You're up here saying, punt, punt.
And I'll tell you, this guy right here, I mean, he is consistent with his philosophy. He is going to keep throwing this football. You can count on that.
1st and 10. Play fake. Got all the time in the world. Gable underneath, and Harris said nowhere to go. David Harris, their leading tackler, their senior from Grand Rapids, wraps up another one.
It's always amazing to see how a touchdown for your own offense can affect the momentum and the play of your own defense. Even though SC is still having some success, at least the energy from up here looks to be very different from this Michigan defense and the way they're attacking USC here. We'll see if it pays off for them or if it ends up allowing SC to make a big play.
Second and 10. Deflected incomplete, and now it is 3rd and 10. And, it was hit that time by Sean Crable, who deflected it. And do you know, Kirk, what pleases Pete Carroll the most? Not about that particular play, but the whole scene here this afternoon. What pleases him the most for Pete Carroll is as he looks across the sideline, he doesn't see one Vince Young. That pleases him more than anything.
Very good point.
3rd and 10.
First time the Michigan crowd has come alive in the entire game.
Booty, deep to the foot race for the end zone. 10-5 score. $62 yards. on a 3rd down.
Now you're hearing the USC crowd because the Michigan crowd has been silenced. John David Booty on 3rd and long comes up with a great throw. SC will get penalized for excessive celebration, but the touchdown will count.
I'm not sure about that. We might have had a late hit on Behringer and Enzo. Let's let this get. There's a personal foul was dropped down.
I just saw the point.
Watch Jarrett. He's taunting him a little bit. Now, you know, well, we'll get to take another look at it. But this is going to be a personal foul against Michigan. That's what's going to be. And I think they'll make a decision here, and they say on the kickoff, yeah, we got it. So Jack's he's all over it. That's good officiating right there. Don't you hate it when they take too much time?
Back to the score. There was a dead ball, personal foul, number 19 of the defense. That penalty will be administered on the succeeding kickoff. Touchdown.
And you know the amazing thing about that play, they have him bracketed, double teamed. You see Willis Behringer right there on the late hit, but they committed 2 guys in bracket coverage on Dwayne Jarrett. And how about Keyshawn Johnson's opinion now? I think we have seen the last of our young man, Darryl Jarrett, in college football game.
What an ugly looking extra point attempt. He pulled this one over the left. He's missed his 2nd one now. He has missed a couple of extra points, one to the right and one to the left. That was like me trying to hit a golf ball. Jarrett to the end zone on 3rd and 10, 62 yards. Pete Carroll going down the sideline.
Exclusive coverage of the Rose Bowl game presented by Citi. Brought to you by Citi. It's easier to get the rewards you want. The BCS, presented by the Nissan Titan. Sprint, sprint, power up. And Allstate. Are you in good hands?
Because of the penalty, kicking off from midfield, and Beeler will nail this one, almost a souvenir. And now Jarrett, 10 catches, 176 yards, and this is 2nd touchdown.
Well, it's 3rd and 10, so you know that USC wants to try to get the ball to Dwayne Jarrett. But look at the 2 Michigan defenders. There's a little bit of confusion. They are both responsible. As Coach says, it's a bracket defense. The safety is the mistake that's made is by the safety, Willis Behringer. I think there was indecision there in thinking that Leon Hall had him covered, and that confusion led to the big touchdown.
I've seen that so many times when you play in and out coverage. You get clever. You think you have 2-on-1. No one is sure who has him, and he splits you right down the middle.
25-11. Back on a 14. USC's missed 2 extra points, and now it is 2nd down and 10 after the deflection.
And that's an amazing 3rd down and 10 play that just took Michigan out of this football game.
I was going to say 3rd and 10 with Michigan making the touchdown, converting on the 2-point conversion, coming back. Defense makes some plays, get them to 3rd and 10, and then USC in typical Pete Carroll fashion, they go for the jugular and get the big score.
Throwing to his tight end, Tyler Ecker has been one of his preferred targets here in the 2nd half. That's 5 catches. He's the leading receiver for Michigan in this game.
You know, Brent, it really is shocking that Michigan defense, which is a great defense, how many big plays they've given up these last 2 games to Ohio State and USC. It's
How about those 2 50-plus yard touchdown runs in Columbus that we saw? And now they come right back with a big one of their own with Ecker. And he's got a 1st down at the Trojans 39. So the Wolverines firing right back.
Well, anytime you want to split a safety in a corner and try to hit a seam, you have to have a quarterback that has the ability to put the ball on a rope. That's exactly what Chad Henne did that time, and getting the ball thrown before Taylor Mays, the safety, came over to knock it down.
36 yards, and that gives Ecker a 78-yard afternoon. And here comes Mike Hart, picking up a couple more. And one of the storylines of the game is the way that defense has stopped him. Game Day built by Home Depot coming up at 8:30 Eastern on ESPN. Reese Davis, Lou Holtz, Mark May, they'll have all the highlights, all the latest news for you. And again, that's 8:30 Eastern or 5:30 out here on the Pacific Network as we come to the top of the hour. Henny fires complete, hand in hand. First down at the 20-yard line.
When Chad Henne has time to throw, he has as strong his arm as you'll see in the country. And that time, the protection. Where's the protection, Ben? Give him time to throw. He'll find an open receiver.
Screen set up with Hart. Nothing doing. They lose 5 yards. Ellis, who has played a sensational game along with Mamaluga.
Kirk, one thing you talk about, where's that protection been? You know, when both teams start throwing the football as much as they're throwing here in the second half, those defenses start to get tired now, rushing that passer. So it's a little bit different tempo right now for these blitzes by USC than they were in the first half. They're a little bit tired.
In underneath. And not even back at the original line of scrimmage. That's Arrington who caught the scoring strike from Henne. And this will bring up a third down. Oscar Lua, senior linebacker, one of the leaders on this SC team, making the stop.
There's some talent on this football field. There are some big-time playmakers on both sides.
Third down, and it'll be fourth down, trailing by 14 with 8:11 to go.
This time Chad Henne feels pressure. Once he steps up into the pocket, Muala actually went by him. He had time to get his feet underneath him and make an accurate throw, but he hurried it, feeling that pressure, and threw it before he had his feet ready to make an accurate throw to give his receiver a chance. That might have been a first down.
The Jarrett touchdown has turned this game around. Michigan could go for a field goal here if they'd been down 8, down 14 with 8:11. They've got to go for it on 4th 11. Need to reach the 10-yard line for a first down, or they turn it over. Can Preston get it? He slips and he's down. Down at the 15, 5 yards short. USC football.
Again, the arm strength of Chad Henne to get that football out there, because he almost slipped. Watch right there, and then he throws it really flat-footed.
Well, he was lucky to get the ball off. He gathered himself and got the ball thrown to the outside, but still, even if Preston keeps his feet, he's not going to pick up a first down.
Yeah, some folks will tell you, you got to throw to the first down marker on a big 4th down like that. Timeout. 8:02 left for the Wolverines.
Small hands.
And there's Coach Holt and his defense over on the other side. They've played a whale of a game. Now John David Booty and the offense will see if they can eat away some precious minutes here. Pump fake. Near side, Smith grabs it. Out of bounds around the 40-yard line. Let's check in down below with Bonnie.
Brad, Mike Hart missed the last few plays on Michigan's drive. Paul Schmidt, Wolverines head trainer, was looking at his right shoulder, but we don't have a diagnosis just yet. Paul moved away from Hart, and he's just kind of sitting on the bench, but as soon as I get any information, we'll let you know.
All right, Bonnie. We didn't appear, as we looked at him when you were giving that report, that was serious, but certainly you never know. He went down. He was a little bit of pain there.
Yeah, he got jammed into the turf a little bit. Put a lot of weight on that shoulder. How about this USC offense? How about that last play?
They weren't working the clock. They were firing for 26 yards, and here he comes again. Jarrett again at the 30-yard line, and he hands it to Behringer. Now, you might want to say that's a little bit unsportsmanlike right there also. 29 more yards for Jarrett.
Well, Dwayne Jarrett must have seen Calvin Johnson's performance today in his bowl game, because he is putting on a similar clinic here in the second half, going up into the air, making the catch that time, and showing that ability to high point it.
I'm going to say one thing about wide receivers. They should emulate Larry Fitzgerald and not Terrell Owens, and I mean it, okay? First down and 10. Play the game. Ball is at the 30-yard line. Play fake. Near side. And Davis brings it in. Inside the 10-yard line. The passing show continues.
They continue to attack downfield with a 14-point lead. 107 minutes to go.
Let me ask you guys something. Officially, there's no NFL team in Los Angeles.
They're right here.
Sure this is not an NFL team?
They're right here.
I mean, look at this play.
Former wide receiver comes in handy this time. One-on-one with Sean Crable. Goes up into the air.
That is unbelievable.
It's a nice catch.
This makes that UCLA loss even more shocking to me.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, come on.
Last three pass plays, 26, 29, and 23 yards, giving the Trojans first and goal. Under pressure, touchdown. Smith. John David Booty being picked up with a huge smile on his face, and he showed a lot of courage here today.
Fred Davis clears out David Harris right there in the middle of the field, opening it up nicely. Well-designed play by USC, and they have continued to attack the safeties and the linebackers of this Michigan defense.
Booty got sandwiched by Lamar Woodley and Tim Jamison and hung in there.
Here's Danilo. Tacks it on this time. It's relief for the young man. Well, John David Booty, I said he's going to go to work on the clock. He went to work instead on yardage. 4 for 4, 85 yards, and another touchdown pass. Against the Michigan defense. John David Booty has shredded them for 391 yards and 4 touchdowns. They have outscored this defense 29-8 in the second half. What a difference. The two sidelines.
Brent, they are 28 passes and 4 runs in the second half for USC offense.
You called it. They had the pass. They're a passing team. They've done a fabulous job on Preston, too. Well, let's take a look at the city game summary of this, the 93rd Rose Bowl game. And 237 yards allowed. Interception by Jackson. They've had 6 sacks. Then that strike to Arrington. They were within 8, but Jarrett against the bracket coverage broke free. His second touchdown of the afternoon. And it is 32-11. Jarrett 11 catches, 206 yards, and 2 of Booty's 4 touchdown passes. Brandon Minor stays in the game, so Mike Hart over there on the sideline. Going down the far side, incomplete. He overthrew Manningham, and he was double covered down there. Terrell Thomas was there with Taylor Mays, the outstanding freshman safety from Seattle, Washington. There you are, folks. You're seeing one of the biggest safeties in the country. It'll be interesting watching him through the years if he can keep his weight down and stay at safety, or they'll have to move him up to linebacker. His daddy played in the NFL. He was out at practice the other day, and this is a very, very fine, talented young man right here.
Player of the year in the state of Washington last year as a high school senior. 2nd and 10.
Pops was telling me he had a tough time getting over the UCLA loss, but about 4 days, he said, before he came out of his funk. I don't know what he could have done differently. And there's Manningham pushed out of bounds on the far side by Kerry Harris. We check in with Bonnie.
Checked in with Paul Schmidt, the Wolverines trainer. He's telling me that Mike Hart's shoulder is fine. However, he's not on the field, so make your own conclusions, Brent.
Well, Bonnie, it is getting late, and they're down 32-11. Mike has already said that he's coming back next year. It's been a very tough afternoon. I think that the defense against Mike Hart is by far the best that I have seen this year. The first man hitting him, and they have gang tackled him, and he just didn't have much daylight.
Not a chance to make a play in the open space, open field at all. They just closed the gaps completely with this SC D-line and linebackers.
We wondered which team would overcome the severe disappointment of losing their final regular season game. And I think that question has been answered. We thought that Michigan might bounce back because they really had the second spot of the BCS taken away from them by a vote, whereas USC was beaten by their arch rival UCLA on the field. But the Trojans came ready to play here today, especially on defense. As a drop pass by the Wolverines, and we come down now to the final 5:50. And Kirk and Bob, I think both of you agree with me that the way this game is headed, the Trojans will open the season under Pete Carroll as the preseason. No, folks, don't tell him that. He'll jump all over.
Yeah.
He jumped on me with both feet when I suggested that. He said, I don't care.
We're not worried about that.
Yes.
We're focused on this game and winter conditioning. But you're right. With this impressive a win, with how many guys that are returning, it's tough not to imagine them up at number 1.
Not just returning. I want to show you some of their draft, not draft folks, but the fellows who've committed verbally incomplete, who are going to come. Let's check in on the USC. Now remember, Pete Carroll, if you weren't with us, has said to us, this class coming in is the best recruiting class I've ever had. Now there you have a linebacker from Anaheim, extremely highly rated. There's Wendell Tyler's son. Wendell was a great running back at UCLA and the NFL. Got a quarterback from Villa Park. He's got a backup quarterback by the name of Sanchez, and Sanchez will have a chance to win the job. Defensive linemen, offensive linemen. They're coming from all over next year, and Pete's going to give them a chance, as he always has, to start next year when the season opens.
He played 15 true freshmen this year.
3rd and 10. Stepping up and could not hook up with his receiver, Carson Butler, the sophomore tight end.
If Dwayne Jarrett ends up leaving, think about Steve Smith and Chris McFoy all being seniors, those two being seniors. The only area where you're going to have to see some inexperience step up, and this is the only area, is wide receiver. You're going to have some young wide receivers emerge to have the kind of team that you'd expect to have. And the way they recruit, I'm sure that will not be a problem for USC.
They'll find a few. Fielded at the 30-yard line, and that's Reed to the 40. And USC 5 minutes away from winning another Rose Bowl. They hold more wins here than any other school, and they're about to add another. Built by the Home Depot, again coming up at 8:30 Eastern on ESPN. Reese Davis, Lou Holtz, Mark May will be in the studio. They'll have a wrap-up of all of the action today. Wisconsin and Penn State with huge wins for the Big Ten, but here Michigan on the short end against USC of the Pac-10. What does it mean for Ohio State? You are left to wonder, and you can make your own conclusions. With 5:10 to go, the championship down in Glendale next Monday. And the key guy has been Dwayne Jarrett. That was Washington, the running back.
I think we knew if John David Booty had time to throw, he was going to make some plays, and he has found Dwayne Jarrett 11 times, 205 yards for 2 touchdowns, has completely dominated the Michigan secondary. Many Booty has had time to throw in this second half, and again, you look at Dwayne Jarrett, you compare him to some of the best receivers in the country. The only one that comes to mind is Calvin Johnson, who finally had a chance to get the ball thrown to him today, and he also had a great game.
Bradford is in as the running back. He throws over his head. We check in down below with Lisa.
Well, Brent, for those who think or thought that Dwayne Jarrett isn't ready to turn pro, Keyshawn Johnson, I asked Dwayne Jarrett about it, And he said, you know, for folks who believe that, I do respect their opinion. I respect what Keyshawn has to say. But Dwayne said, what makes them think that I wouldn't continue to work once I do go to the NFL? He said, even if I'm not physical enough, and I believe that I am, I would still continue to work at that level. And I said, Dwayne, it sounds like you're leaning towards declaring yourself eligible for the draft. And he said, no, 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 don't put words in my mouth, but if I were, I would continue to work at the next level. Brent?
Yeah. Sounds like a heavy lean.
Oh.
Goodbye.
And there is the young man, Alan Bradford.
What happens when you go through that process of declaring whether to come out or not? It's hard to know who to trust because it seems like everybody has an agenda. You know, you talk about the dynamics of a bowl game, all these players announcing, particularly for Michigan, they're coming back. Think of the dynamics of those players that are backups behind those guys now that are forced to wait another year with the starter returning. So many things go into bowl game preparation. That's why sometimes a different team shows up to play than you had the last time you coached them in the regular season.
Talking about who to trust, they have the luxury of having Pete Carroll, a coach who they really trust his opinion.
Woodley closing in, and down goes John David Booty. So Lamar Woodley coming in, and that will be the second sack of this game for the Wolverines, and it'll bring up a 2nd and 18. And John David said, let's just go on down and keep that clock ticking.
I think it'll be interesting to see where Lamar Woodley ends up in the draft. Brent, you know, he's a little bit undersized to be a true defensive end. He's more of a 3-4 outside linebacker, but he hasn't had a lot of success playing that position.
So Mark Sanchez, we get to take a look at the young man, and what we told you, despite this great performance, 391 yards, 4 touchdowns, and no interceptions, the young man here, the freshman from Mission Viejo, California, will have a chance to compete. And if you've had a chance to watch or see tape on him, this young man has a rifle arm. He's mobile. He's one of the better young quarterbacks in the country. That is going to be one of the great duels of the spring between Sanchez and John David Booty. Now, Sanchez had a crack at the job last spring, and then there was a little off-the-field incident, and I think involving Sanchez and a woman here at USC, but that seemed to disappear, and the team and Pete Carroll, they stood solidly behind Sanchez in that situation. And it is 3rd down and 15. Here is the toss play with Bradford, and he would like to have stayed in bounds, but he ran out.
Pete Carroll may tackle him over there on the sideline.
Hey, you think that USC team's having a little more fun over on that sidelines than they did the last time?
Well, last two times.
Last 2 times.
Yeah, 1 year ago from today, or close to it.
You know, I was a little worried about USC being flat. Just practicing at their same practice facility, staying in the same hotel, a little bit of a mundane schedule, kind of used to doing it.
I think they were early, though. I think that's why Pete Carroll was, and some of the coaches were over there trying to get the crowd into the game. And I think second half, the throwing that we talked about, you talked about, all of a sudden opened some things up.
Delay foul against the offense, snapping the ball prior to ready for play. That's a 5-yard penalty, still 4th down.
Boy, he's got to feel good, doesn't he, John David Booty?
It just goes to show you that the end of the year for USC with Oregon and then Cal and then Notre Dame leading up to the UCLA game, I think a lot of people assumed the hay was in the barn after they got through the 3 games, and I think that's what affected USC when they played UCLA is they didn't expect much of a game from UCLA. They didn't show up to play.
Out of bounds, and it's going to be marked at about the, he's still walking, about the 30-yard line. So a reminder now, folks, coming up the Built Ford Tough postgame with interviews and the trophy presentation to Pete Carroll and the USC Trojans.
John David Booty, Chad Henne, both in the Heisman race, you'd have to think next year, along with Michael Hart.
Well, there's some great running backs returning next year. Michael Hart will be up there. Darren McFadden, Steve Slayton, along with these quarterbacks.
Might have been the last time to see those two fellows as teammates. 1st down and 10. We'll see how everything unfolds. Preston. He stays in bounds.
You know, Preston, you had to be impressed, Brent, when we visited with him the other day. He told us a story about his 3 brothers. One graduated from Pitt, one from Penn State, and one from Thiel College in Pittsburgh. And he was the 4th that graduated. He told us his mom cried when he walked across that stage and got his diploma. That's a heck of a statement right there.
Isn't it, though? What a great feeling for Mom, huh? Raising those youngsters. Preston played a little quarterback in high school. It'll be interesting to see how he does with that speed. He'll certainly get a chance as a return man, if nothing else. And they probably use him as a slot receiver in the NFL and see what kind of production they can get.
So, Brent, 32-11. Let's assume this is the final. You think back in Ann Arbor, the bloggers are out, and we've got trouble in Ann Arbor for Lloyd Carr after the way the Ohio State series has gone and the way these bowl games have gone?
I don't think there's any question. You can book it. 2nd down and 10. Kenny. The 3rd straight year that you lose the combination to Ohio State and then the bowl game. That brings pressure.
Sure. I mean, it's amazing to think that the team is number 2 in the country, 11-0 going into the rivalry game. 2 games later, the bloggers are back out.
You know what? Not so much the bloggers, but again, think if they would have won this game. And every time he walks into an alumni meeting, every time he gets up to speak, it's talking about coach. Everything's positive. You're the preseason #1. Instead now, he has to spin everything and try to find some positives, even though he's an 11-2 team as he ends the season. So it's a completely different lifestyle for the head coach based on whether you win the bowl or lose the bowl in the offseason.
The strike. And, you know, you've got to make sure that the recruits show up. We've got some great verbal commitments. If you're wondering about Ryan Mallett, the outstanding quarterback from Texarkana, Texas, that he will be in school here in a few days. So when Brantley decommitted from Texas to go to Florida, there was talk that the Horns might go after Mallett. They probably did. Just checked in. As you know, Lefty Drizel's great comment: when somebody commits verbally, at least you know who the competition is. So there's Ryan Mallett, and he's a big rascal. And they got the wide receiver. That's a great name, isn't it? Junior Hemingway. And there's Butch Woolfolk's son, a defensive back from Sugar Land, Texas. Jeremy Finch out of Indianapolis, DB. Ryan Van Bergen out of Whitehall, Michigan, defensive end. So there's some top players coming into it. That's a very good recruiting.
Oh, yeah. And Lloyd Carr and the Michigan staff always seem to close strong as well. So I'm sure you'll see even more names surface between now and signing day.
2nd and 10. Juggling Preston. 10-yard line, 5 for the corner. Got the touchdown. And that's why Steve Preston will get a long look in the NFL. That's 41 yards, folks. And that's some major speed right there.
That's man-to-man. Penny going to, instead of Matthews, who cut underneath, who's open, he decides to wait, gets the ball to Steve Preston, and it was just a foot race. Once he made the catch, it was a foot race with Terrell Thomas.
Terrell Thomas, USC's best corner. Good to see this young guy finish his career at Michigan with a big-time play like that. He's played a lot of football for Michigan.
Revis tacks on the extra point. There's a penalty flag. Didn't have a single penalty in the first half. Pretty clean overall. This is just about the 6th time. Couldn't stop it even with the extra goal.
What a comeback after the UCLA game for USC and for especially John David Booty and this offensive line of USC.
The guy in that Michigan hat, he better get used to wearing that big old cold weather hat. They better have soaked up all the sunshine they could handle the last couple of days, because
well, you won't see the sun until April or May.
That's like you.
Yeah, me too. I'm soaking it in myself. It'll come back mid-April.
Illegal participation, 12 players on the field against the defense. That penalty is refused. The extra point is successful.
Last minute coming up.
As you guys said, it's great to see a senior get a chance to make a play. I know the game is out of reach at this point, but Henny is not giving up. He finds the senior Breston. Once he holds on to the ball, as I said, he shows the speed that you guys are talking about that'll probably have some NFL scouts interested in what he can offer at the next level. He outruns Terrell Thomas.
Yeah, the combination of punt return, kick return, third wide receiver. Steve Breston will have a legitimate shot. That's as good as it gets right there. Winning the bowl game, bouncing back from that UCLA game.
Look at that smile. There's Ken Norton Jr. with his back right to you there on the left-hand side. So
Is there
Steve.
a better-looking coach for as far as a USC position? You put a pair of sunglasses on the guy. He's not allowed to coach anywhere else. I mean, he's perfect for USC.
I think he knows it. I think he's a smart fellow about that.
He is.
And I'll tell you something else, though. He does pay attention to what's going on in the NFL. You want to have a conversation with somebody who knows what's happening around the entire football world. He's a football junkie. I mean, I'm telling you. He is something. Gerald Revis and Mr. Kraft, the owner of the Patriots. If you read his comments that they perhaps weren't ready for Pete Carroll and that they certainly dismissed him too early. Remember, he was up there for a few years, had the Jets for a year. Brian Cushing, who's played very well. He led that assault in the first half. 32-18.
You see that big smile from Pete Carroll, and if you're not familiar with him, and they got him with some water. If you're not familiar with him and his style, he likes to have fun, but you won't find a coach and a coaching staff that works any harder than USC during a 2.5 hour practice.
Time to party down.
They got it.
That was a good pass.
That was perfect.
That was good.
Everything's going right.
That's right. They didn't fumble the jug. Gable back in. He stays in bounds.
For those bowl games remaining, this is the technique that you want to use.
See, that guy right there was in on the plan.
He's a decoy.
You see how he distracted the attention right
there? He's
there?
like, oh, Coach, I'll hold your headphones just for a second if I could, but congratulations on the big win. See him pointing to him?
Guys, we've had a great season, haven't we?
Oh, it's been great.
We have seen some big-time ball games now.
We're ready for next year.
32-18. And of course, coming up, we're going to have that Built Ford Tough post game. We'll have interviews, the trophy presentation to the Trojans. John David Booty wins a bowl game, and there's his favorite target, 11 catches for 205 yards and a pair of touchdowns for Dwayne Jarrett. I see that confetti, and I still think about that magical Vince Young last year. A year later, USC comes in and captures the bowl. There they are. They're the Rose Bowl champions. Coming up next now, it'll be the Built Ford Tough post game. Interviews and the trophy presentation to USC. You're watching ESPN on ABC.